Oh, can't say any more fun words, Ash. I know, it's not fair. It's a shame that Twitch can't hear you serenade them.
Twitch heard that.
No, it's now lore.
Now.
It is now lore accurate.
Well, they don't know who she is.
It's okay. It's okay. They know it's lore accurate.
Lore accurate.
Lore, oh my god.
Don't. It's a trap. Don't do it.
It's a trap. Yep.
It might trap you. Don't do it. Read it first in your head, and then figure it out if you want to say it.
What is it? I'm on Xbox. What is it? Yeah.
No.
I'm looking.
Don't do it.
He's gonna see it, Mago.
Don't say it out loud.
Good gracious.
And there you have it. He saw it.
Golly willikers indeed.
Oh yeah.
Now she has to defend her name, and by not disclosing the name, you gotta defend.
I don't know, I mean, how many? I was about to say, how many do we have?
Do we have of that particular situation?
I mean, how many megas do we have?
Not many.
Hey yo, I open up Facebook and the first thing I see is Lad Bible going off the rails again.
I'm just so happy that can't be heard. In it? Hold on. No,
They heard it, Ash.
No, it was low enough. It was low enough.
Nope, they heard it.
Low enough.
They heard it. They heard your slanderous lies.
No, they didn't hear it. They didn't hear her.
No, they heard it.
They didn't hear her.
They heard it. Ad, I got a picture for you.
I'm not looking at it.
It's, hang on, I'm gonna post in group chat with Zephyr.
That's going to make it worse.
I agree.
Well, it beats looking at Guy Fieri's face being photoshopped onto a chubby baby Jesus.
You're not wrong. Why was that posted?
What are you trying to do for quests right now? You mean the one that I have?
He wants the fancy sword.
That was a Darty level no.
Yo,
No.
whoa, hold up. Zoltrak.
See, it's
okay.
No.
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 Banana.
Banana Slammer.
Report.
Yo, that's what we should watch. We should watch the fucking CGI Donkey Kong cartoon.
No, I don't think we should.
Yes, we
no,
should.
No, we should not.
Or the CGI Donkey Kong movie.
I'll shower you with my coconut cream pies.
I'm just going to remind you we're live.
That is actual lyrics from his song that he sang. In a goddamn kid's cartoon. A moons.
Hey, Moons. Okay. Oh, I forgot to put we're covering the Ryouma buff in the title.
Oops.
Okay, there we go. All right, I'm gonna jump up. I'll see you guys later.
Later.
Try not to, you know.
では前に出ます
Hello, chat. Now it's just us, alone, together. I just got the tweet out. Do me the favor, go give it some love. Congrats on the Natty Cat. That ending was crazy. It was, yeah. So for those of you guys that didn't see, my my college basketball team won the national championship for college hoops. It was unexpected. We were behind the entire game, and literally, I don't think we even led until the second half, and I think even then there was only like 1 point before the last minute of the game, and it was only by like 1 point. We are the champions, my friends. Boom, 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 boom. Thank you for the song request. Keep on fighting till the end. We are the champions. All right, so like I said, I got the tweet out. Do me the favor, go give that some love. Let me grab you guys today's sauce. If I can figure out where I put it. There it is. I've already used this one before, so apologies if I did. Remember if I did or not. It is selectively cropped for not getting banned convenience. I haven't seen it? Well, of course you haven't, because you haven't seen it yet. Thank you for the new video on the spreadsheet. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. We did get the Lotto guide out. Let me do 2 more things here, chat. We are the champions, my friends. Keep on fighting till the end. All right, now we're good. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good today. Here is today's artwork. Do me the favor, go give it some love. Okay. Some of those 90++ nodes are asked to make teams for. Yes, they are. You could thank Avalon for a lot of that. I know I sat down with him. Like, so how the process normally goes at this point, because we've been doing this so many times, I just kind of trust Avalon to make the sheet. He kind of tells me, hey, I think it's like getting there. Or, hey, I think it's ready. And then I look at it and I say, all right, here's all of the issues with the sheet as I see it. Like, here's the things that I want added. Here's the like potential problems. Like if I spot any errors, and there's usually a couple. Like no shade towards Avalon in the slightest. I think when you're making a spreadsheet with that many compositions, typos happen. Just forgetfulness is a thing, and you straight up like get some stuff wrong. It happens. So I try to catch as much of that as I can. I'm not going to say there's not going to be stuff that gets by us. There may be, but it is what it is. But so far, as to everything I've seen, I haven't seen anybody report an error with it yet. So that's good. But beyond that, I normally also start to ask Avalon, hey, did you consider this? Did you think about these comps? Did you add like anything to do with this, right? So I am basically the person that's coming in behind him, making sure that the sheet's good, making sure that he considered everything that needed to be considered and included everything that should be included. You guys know, and Avalon knows this by now as well, that when we make the spreadsheet, there's usually a like bar that we don't like to go above. And that bar is to the point of, we like to show you guys some 6 slots for the like 90 plus plus, because that's what really makes a lot of those nodes valid for people, especially this time around. But usually if the composition requires too much, I do not like to include it. And what I mean when I say that is we try to keep the comps on the less whaley side. So usually if a composition requires more than like NP3, it's not probably getting put in. If a composition, even at NP3, if there's no other like good options or there's just extremely limited options, I'll allow it. But usually I like to keep all the compositions NP2 or lower. Just for that exact reason of I feel like most people don't necessarily have something to do with that. Oh, damn it. Relogged. Thank you for streaming today. It's been a day today. It's been a day for me too. I will admit I almost didn't stream. I did want to go live though, because we put out the Lotto guide and I wanted to, one, help raise awareness for it, and two, basically just kind of get done all the stuff that I need to get done. A little bit streaming helps me because it keeps me on task. Whereas if I don't stream, I'm just going to sit there and like, I'll eventually get my AP spent down and stuff, but I'll probably get distracted by doing something else. And I know right now, if I didn't stream, I would be like just vegging out. So. Let me go grab you guys the link to the video though, because I don't think I have mods present at the moment.
To you to kind of choose which one.
Yeah, calm down, me. Okay, gonna pin that over there. Gonna leave that. And then let me see if I can pin it on the YouTube side for you guys as well. There we go. Should be pinned on both sides. Okay. Takasugi buff Friday, please. Takasugi's an interesting one. I could see it here. I don't know whether or not they will. We talked a lot about, like, are they going to actually do the buffs? For instance, people were saying, like, hey, will they buff, like, Kat, do you think they're going to buff Ryouma? And part of it was me sitting there going, like, I don't know. I hope they will. I think Ryouma does need one, but I'm not sure whether or not the devs will actually pull the trigger. And it's a weird thing, a weird situation to try and find yourself in at this point, because I do assume that to some degree, the devs both want to and don't want to buff. And the reason that I think the devs don't want to buff is because I think they know the more they buff, the harder power creep gets on them to come out with newer, stronger units. But I also think within the conventional confines, they kind of realize that, like, they have to. And that if they don't buff, they're just going to begin alienating players, and, people will get annoyed that they're not doing upgrades after doing them for so long. And to be honest with you guys, that's really where I was at on Lartoria. Like, I was getting to the point that I was getting annoyed that they hadn't buffed her, because it was just way, way, way too, like, long at this point. I think, there's obviously units that still haven't gotten buffs. And I'm sure some people are sitting there thinking, what do you mean, Cad? When you say it's been too long, like, my unit hasn't gotten a buff yet. I agree. And I'm going to tell you that doesn't invalidate what I said. Because me saying that is me saying the devs are taking too long to actually buff units that need it. In the case of other units that still haven't received a buff, my heart goes out to y'all. They absolutely should have buffed your units by now. Like, that being said, some units don't necessarily need an upgrade that people think do. It is what it is. Like this sort of thing just kind of naturally happens, but I think it's a weird position to find ourselves in. Like Junao and Castoria, for example. Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made about, like, Arjuna Ultra getting a buff, but I don't think it's a very strong one at the moment. Boom, 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 boom. Good old Smashing Pumpkins. Jekyll needs a buff again. Yeah. I think there's units that desperately need it. There's units that maybe even need multiple to some degree. Though I think even that sort of thing is debatable. I see a lot of people talk about that sort of stuff, but doesn't necessarily matter. You know what? Yeah, let's why not? Why not? Let's murder the Mechanobus as hard as possible. Red hair needs more buffs. Yeah, so I think, like, you can look at, like, the Alexander upgrade that he got, and it's a good upgrade, but I think you can definitely look at that and say that, like, red hair needed it more. But who knows? Maybe red hair is going to be involved in story later on. It's not necessarily a, like, guaranteed thing that he won't get a buff this year. So to me, it is what it is. I also think, in a weird way, it is going to be interesting to see now who they buff at Anniversary. And I think predicting the Annie buffs is kind of wild. There's definitely units that I feel like need it, but I have no idea what the devs are going to do. Because we are reaching a point of, in a weird way, I'm not going to say equilibrium, but we are reaching a point of, like, it's going to get harder and harder for the devs to touch a unit without breaking something. And what I mean when I say this is, like, for instance, right now, you have a situation with, like, single target riders. Single target riders have, Ozzy sitting there on top. But the rest of the single target riders, I mean, I think, like, maybe Mabe would be the exclusion. because MABE actually has received a lot of upgrades over the years. But I think when you look at a lot of the other single target writers, they actually need an upgrade. So the problem's going to occur if what happens when one of them finally does get one? Then it's like you've broken the status quo. I'm not saying that the status quo is balanced. It's not. But then you've broken the status quo, and then everyone starts going, where's my buff again? So that's where I mean when I say, like, the devs are going to have a hard time not breaking that status quo, where things have been set balance-wise for a while. And this is a problem. Because when you have a set thing, like I'm going to give you guys an example, right? Look at the Lartoria buff. Look at the change that it made. Look at how it just immediately like upended things for a lot of people. And you saw there were a lot of people that were saying the buff was too much. There were a lot of people that were getting super defensive. There were a lot of people that were like being like, oh, it shouldn't have been her, right? That's the problem when you have a meta situation that's just been set for a long time. You will naturally create turmoil because people are not going to like that you're upending things. So that's a problem of their own making. We didn't used to have that issue, but we have had that issue due to stagnancy on the dev side. Yeah, like, so I'll give you guys an example, right? If they ever buff a single target archer, people are going to lose their minds because the buff will likely be a very strong buff. And that is going to make people go like, what are you doing, devs? But then everyone's going to go like, wait, no, this actually isn't that insane when I show them the numbers. So I think that's going to be the problem as they head forward. And this is usually the case. We see a lot of knee-jerk reactions. For instance, the Ryouma buff, there are a lot of knee-jerk reactions to things. Unlikely, but the Squirtoria buff could be epic. Yeah, that's the exact thing that like I'm gonna say is like imagine an NP interlude for Squirtoria. People would lose their minds. And yet an MP buff for Squirtoria actually doesn't really move the needle. And the example that I can give you guys, let me see if I can find it. I'm sure Avalon sent it to me at some point. Yeah. Hey, chat. Why am I showing this to you? Because that's your new NP1. That right there. It's that simple. That's how NP interludes work. Now, if they go stronger than this, sure, maybe. But I'm going to say they could still go stronger than this and it would not break the game easily. Not with some of the damage numbers that we have on certain units. We have units out there that are doing like 800k plus neutral numbers. So like when I start to see stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, that's actually not that big of a deal. Like it's not that upsetting of an amount. Interesting. Not that impressive? Yeah, and that's like, that's all I'm trying to say. what's the new time lock for? I actually don't know. I am having a really hard time figuring out like just where the heck I am on this event because of like this and just being like unable to tell what missions I actually need to do. So it's like I can't read most of this anyways. Ronmer is already perm. Yeah, so it's like it's not a huge issue for me. See, like the 90 plus seemingly only has like Ishtar there. The nodes don't have targets. So about that, this is the one event. So hilariously enough, this is actually the event that the like target system was unveiled during. But this is also the one event in the entire game where the target system's fucking worthless. Because you had the detective missions and they also count as a mission target. So it's literally both introduced in this event and also simultaneously the most worthless during this event. So you can see there's just like perpetually it's just constantly showing me more stuff. So I'm just not really sure what it is at this point that I should be doing in that regard. I have a 90 plus node, but I've already done that. So it's like I'm legitimately unsure of what it is that the devs actually want me to do at the moment. Look at a mission guide. I mean, I can look at what the missions are. Like I can guesstimate, but I'm also just unsure of like whether or not I need to do any of these. All right, so that's 35. 35 is defeat 70 enemies with beast trait. So that'd be like wild beasts. That one also goes up to 100 missions. So 48 is defeat 10 Lancer class servants. 49 is defeat 5 Rider class servants. So I think I can get Rider and Beast done up here. This is a bronze node. A-okay. This is a 90 node, so it should be 333. Should. Oh, hold on. Where's my Summer Falcons? There we go. I probably don't want to cast story of this, but I'm a little bit worried that I'm gonna like bring Shu Fu and then the node's gonna be odd set. So let's do like Reigns. Just in case. I think I need to complete a rider class node or something. Yeah. When we were going over him earlier, when I went over that 90, and I was like, I mentally thought to myself, it's like, I don't think I've done that one very much, but it's always difficult to tell. That usually is a good sign, though. If you think to yourself, like, hey, I didn't run that node a whole lot, it usually means that's the node you actually need to run. Okay, should be good enough for now. Hey, what's up, Cog? How you been, bud? Is there a mission event with 300 missions? I thought the collab had such few missions. With 300? No, not as far as I know. Mission events have almost always been 100. There were a couple of like times where there was less. So like, for instance, was it like Guda 5 with the raids where it was only like a 30 mission event? Like there's been a couple like less than that, but 100 is usually the standard, and it's never been more. Oregon can't say much changed. It's been busy. Yeah, it's all good. I definitely feel that. I've been there myself at this point. I am coming off the tail end of tax season here, which this last week is my hell week, so hopefully everything goes better after this. But hell week might get extended, so. I don't know if Summer Mordred is coming back on Raid Up anytime soon. I would love to get her in P level up. Summer Mordred soon. I'm not sure. I feel like we have summer banners around like anniversary this year again, but let me double check. I also may just get bailed out by 6th, 7th, 28 million. Should be JP's 28 million campaign. Happened in June. This may come earlier, but like quite literally, like this is one where we had basically multiple of the like summer units here. Flash Saber Faces. So basically a Saber Face download campaign. But yeah, you'll have another shot at her with Squirtoria, and it's single rate up, so that's a really, really good time to roll, and that's a really, really good SSR paired with her. So I highly recommend going for that. Just keep in mind, this is likely to come out, like, after Ordeal Call, but before Annie. So, like, you're looking at, like, Annie or, like, later summer units this year, this is a spicy timed banner. Knights and Marines is a nice quick C if you don't have traces. Yeah, Knights is actually one of the best quick Cs in the game, unironically. And that just has a lot to do with basically the devs don't like quick Cs for some reason. Is Ask on the Destiny summon this year? I do not remember. Wait, NA hasn't had a Destiny summon yet, have we? Fuck, I gotta make a video for that. That's... We did, we got it early? Oh, okay. Yeah, we did it like, yeah, okay. I forgot. Oh, nice. Okay, so I actually realized this too. I put my Scritoria in the backline chat because I realized that, like, quite literally, I probably need her Bond 10 for Grand System purposes. And I went like, oh shit, I actually somehow haven't managed to already Bond 10 my Scritoria yet. On JP. My NA one definitely is. My NA one's like Bond 12 or something already. Just from natural usage. But my JP one, I haven't had my JP one as long. And so she hadn't managed to make it to Bond 10 yet. Imagine not farming with King SMH. It's just one of those deals where, again, like I was saying the other day, it's like I don't necessarily use units that often unless like a situation presents itself for it. My Scritoria just got to Bond 10. Nice. I'm just messing with you. No, you're not. You're being super serious and it's hurtful. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I know. Goes up and up and up. Yep. Screw it. Give her all the Shufu buffs and banana rotot. And actually, at this point, since I know I didn't need it on any of the subsequent waves, we can just kind of go ahead and pop literally anything that would be otherwise relevant. Because, again, the Summer Valks are just really good and very fluid loopers. I thought it was only level 100 and max skills. It it is, but it's seeming like one of the benefits will be that you will be able to use the Bonsi with a regular craft essence. In fact, that is the only stated benefit so far. So while it may not be a requirement, I'm going to say, logically speaking, you would probably not want to grand a unit that wasn't Bond 10 because you wouldn't get that benefit. So it's like, I mean, I don't know, right? Like until they give us more data on the actual system, maybe that will be a requirement. But as of the current moment in time, we don't know. However, yeah, I'm not sure I would want to unless I did. It's also like, I've seen people getting like really upset over their announcements of the grand system, which I think, at least from what I've seen, the vast majority of the community seems like pretty chill about the grand system so far. But I've definitely seen people like losing their mind over it. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on with that, other than I guess like maybe just somehow it's not like perfectly suited to some people. Yeah, I think most people kind of feel whatever about it. It's like there's going to be stuff you can do to kind of like prep for it, but I don't think it's really going to matter. I was thinking about doing the same for Rhetoric. Go for it. If Izumo and Ryouma got a rank up quest due to their banner, do you think Takasugi will get one once his banner is up on Friday? That's what chat was asking before, and I'm like, it's possible. I don't think that like he couldn't get one. I think to a degree, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. To me, Takasugi's like one of the most mid units that they've released in a while. That's why, like, when it came to his banner on NA, I didn't roll. Like, I don't think he's bad. I do think he has some usefulness, but I think there's just a lot of factors that kind of are stacked against him. And frankly speaking, the biggest one, more than anything anyone else can say, the biggest one is simply that he's a late arrival to an already stacked like group of units, which is that, again, it's AoE Archer, and ask everybody what their favorite AoE Archer is, and you'll get like 200 different answers. So it's like, the problem is adding someone else to that mix later that doesn't immediately stand out or doesn't immediately jump to the top. It's pretty much a non-starter. Like, most people are just not going to roll for a unit like that. And I don't blame them. I think that sort of thing that's why the devs do power creep. It's quite literally to sell a unit like that. Now, to be fair, chat, you guys need to remember, Takasugi was way more popular on the JP side of things. Like, women were like gushing over him. People were pissed that he didn't immediately get put in the game with the prior Guda Guda. Like a year, actually I say prior Guda Guda, it was like I think it was prior to the prior Guda Guda. So it was like basically like a year and a half before he actually got released was when he appeared in Guda Guda, and people were upset that he didn't get put in there. In fact, I still remember somebody threatening to quit the game over it because they were like, it's not fair. FGO hates the men. They never give us the units that we actually want. I'm going to quit the game. And I remember laughing at that person because I was just like, that's just so stupid. But yeah, so it's like he was a way more popular unit on JP. He sold, I think, a lot better. And so like when it came to NA, I think we had veterancy a little bit on our side of like, we've seen how, you know, things have played out over the next couple years. I don't think in general our community was as hype about him. And then on top of that, I think just a lot of people already just had a well-invested AoE Archer. So I think those three things just hurt him naturally. So it's like, I can't say whether or not JP would look at that and think that he's somehow unpopular and that they need to buff him. However, I think if this were from the NA perspective right now, I could almost guarantee you he would get a buff. From JP's perspective, though, I can't guarantee that. He might not. They may just go like, it's too soon. But it's also entirely possible that they look at that and they go like, you know what? Yeah, we have Gil. Yeah, we have Ishtar. Maybe we should give him something. So, and I don't think, like, I'll be honest, I don't think you'll see an NP interlude for someone like him, but I could easily see them like adjusting one of his skills. is Heracles. Yeah, I mean, units that naturally have a really solid, like, craft essence are going to be stronger. I'll be honest, I put out the craft essence video for you guys on that. I feel like I could have done better. I really do. Like, I feel like I probably should have gone more in depth on each individual craft essence. The problem is that would have been like a 3-hour fucking video. And admittedly, at the time, I did not feel like making that. That being said, though, I do feel like most people already have in their in their head like what the idea of a really good like Bond CE is. Am I making a new one? No. No. At least not right now. Maybe like down the line if we know more about the system and like the things that get said in the video somehow gotten validated, I would do it, but I think at this point, the way things stand, there's no real reason to. I guess we're kind of stuck on JP for right now. Like I said, JP's just weird. I'm really not sure what the devs expect us to do at the moment. And without being able to read, it's problematic at the moment. Hope they buff some old CEs. My girl, Ryogis will probably not be useful. Some old CEs. When you say buff an old craft essence, what do you mean? Like, I get it, but like they have never buffed a craft essence before unless you... Oh, are you talking about the Bond Cs? I'm sorry, my brain immediately jumped to just like generic any craft essence, right? If you're talking about Bond CEs, I think you do have a point. I think you do have a leg to stand on. I thought you were going to talk about buffing like old craft essences in general, and I was like, what do you mean? Buff Black Rail, right? Yeah. I was going to say, it's like the old CEs are actually like some of the strongest in the game. Yeah, I would really like to see them do something with the craft essences, and I'll be honest with you, that is probably the one thing that could make me change. Right? Like, and have to go back and remake a video like that. Because depending on what they do with the craft essences, if they leave them as is and they just say, hey, now everybody has a craft essence that they can equip if they're Bond 10 and they're a grand. Okay, well, that's cool. So you're just never going to see certain grand units. Or the people that make a grand of that unit just go in willfully acknowledging that the benefit that they gain from it is just utter trash. Because there are some really, really, really bad Bond Cs out there in the game. I don't know, right? Like I hope they do something, but I'm also terrified of like what that something could be. Old stuff being the strongest, lore accurate, yeah. Yummy baby. I've just been using Game Press's guide for Guda 6. I probably should have done that, but it's too late now. I'm way too deep. I could not tell you how many runs I've done of any given node. So chat, we are completely done with the event. And there is still like a week and a half. So... me think me'll go farm in Lost Belt 7 now. It's the only thing I can do. Time to farm? Yep. Oh, that broke the capture card, didn't it? No, it didn't. Interdasting. Wait, was I Tiamat looping this? Oh, not you. Where is she? Where is she? There you are. Come here. Do I still only have NP2 Zenobia? Really? I might have to do something about that. I shouldn't, but I might have to do something about that. Too much luck sacking? Yeah. I don't remember the makeup of this node. Is it... Is it 2-3? I don't know. Whatever. It's safe if I do this. I didn't want to, like, just throw it in there and go like, oh, wait. There you go. Now it broke the capture card. Is a rash good for every node in the NA Lotto? I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and like patently tell you no, right? Like, Avalon gave you a much more detailed response. I'm just gonna tell you no. And you should know better. That's all I can say on that front. Okay, give me maximum NP gain. Huzzah. I only have NP5 rolled because I rolled for Jack. Yeah, that's like, I just didn't roll enough, is why. All the 90++ notes for this upcoming Lotto is ass. I talked about that in the video chat. Go watch the video. You'll hear my takes on the 90++ and whether or not you should farm them. And I think the thing that I probably didn't emphasize the most is there is a actual time issue with this one. Because if you want to 6-slot some of those nodes, you really are going to be like sitting there constantly like NPing with Castorias and stuff. Advertisement 100? You're damn right. Go give the video a view. It helps. The more people that watch it, chat, do me that favor. The more people that watch it, the more people it will get pushed to. The more people it gets pushed to, the more people watch it. The more people watch it, the better informed they are. The better they do in the Lotto. It's the truth. Like, for better or worse, and I'm not really sure why, but I think, like, to some degree, I assume that at this point, some people have, like, a chip on their shoulder when it comes to me, and they don't like to, like, promote my content or like it in any way, shape, or form. I don't blame them. I have some, you know, some takes, and they don't like those takes. So it is what it is. But I think when it comes to something like this, it's usually like all we're trying to do with a Lotto guide like this is help people. So it's like, I don't see the harm in promoting it. Like, I'll be honest with you guys, my Lotto guides are usually like the only thing I actually post to Reddit anymore. I don't post anything normally because I've just learned I don't think Reddit cares for it very much. That's a terrible place. I mean, like, not everyone on Reddit is, but I think, like, I'll give you guys an example, right? I posted the Lotto video, and I was laughing about this in VIP because I was like, guys, check this out. Literally within, like, 2 minutes of me posting the video, it had received one other interaction with the guide, and that was a downvote. I was just like, yep, that's typical Reddit. And so it's like, that is one of the reasons I'm just not a huge fan of them over there. I don't know whether it's better to 120 Draco or go for multiple Depends. and whether the 4th and the 5th append should be a priority. It's better to 120 Draco. Yeah, I think like mana loading right now is maybe the only one that really has a tangible benefit too much. Unless you really feel you're going to be doing a lot of challenge content with her, then maybe the extra append. But I think like literally just getting the extra 20 levels is going to have more of an impact than the other two. I did like the conspicuous edit of you saying Kashin Koji's name the first time in the video. Yes, you did, didn't you? Okay, you caught that. That was so chat. Chat, I have a confession to make. Probably the biggest reason that that video didn't get released yesterday was because I made OKS take it back and re-edit that part. Because what I originally said was Karakuri Ilya, and I went like, that's not her fucking name. That's the name of the event. But I just like, I kept going with it. And so I had to like, I literally recorded an extra like blurb of me saying the name. And then I told OKS like, hey, like edit this out. But I think like I didn't make it clear what I wanted him to edit. So he just didn't. And I think like that's why he was like blaming himself earlier, which is like, that's not his fault. That's on me. I didn't give him proper instruction. So it's like, it was a thing. But that's why. Like we actually had the video ready yesterday, technically. Which, and honestly, like, I'm glad we didn't, because OKist went back and made a couple other changes for me that frankly made the video better. So social media in general sucks. You name it, it sucks. Look, chat, it's on me. That's how I'm just choosing to view this sort of thing nowadays. It's like I'll ask you guys for help. I'll ask you guys to help promote me and you know, send me to your friends and give the video a like and, you know, subscribe if you guys haven't already. But at the end of the day, like it's on me to make better content. That's the way I choose to view it. Like, I'm done sitting here blaming algorithms. I'm done sitting here blaming Reddit. I'm done sitting here like saying, oh, it's Twitter. Like, I mean, I'll probably say that about other things, but I'm like, when it comes to my content, when it comes to my videos, it's just on me to make better stuff. Some of the takes I see on Twitter are so unhinged. Yeah. Twitter is usually my daily dose of outrage to some degree. Is the people on Discord downvoting? Wait, what do you mean? But yeah, like I think a lot of the times I just end up skipping over like Twitter is beginning to not recommend me as much FGO content because I don't interact with very much FGO content anymore on Twitter. And the reason why is because most FGO content on Twitter is like one of a group of categories. The first is it is just like artwork. That's fine. I'll like and retweet artwork. There, I have no issue with that. Sometimes I'll leave a like comment and be like, hey, you know, this is an amazing piece, yada, yada, yada. The next portion is, I'm just going to call it like hot takes, where it's like somebody that's sitting there making some like absurd statement. Well, chat, I can go tell that person they're fucking wrong. But I already realized that like the vast majority of people just will. And frankly speaking, some of the people that I would be telling that they're wrong, it might cause some drama. And I would prefer not to deal with that. Right? Like I don't need that. I don't want that. I don't want to be that guy that like gets big because he either ratioed someone or got ratioed. I just choose not to engage with that sort of stuff most of the time. The third is people just straight up spoiling. So people that are sitting there, they just like, oh, hey, new ordeal content. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tweet every single line and why it's important and significant. And that one I feel like is like probably the worst part of the community, ironically enough, because you either actually already read it yourself and understand what it is that they're saying, or you didn't read it, and then you probably shouldn't want the spoilers. So I don't really understand the people that sit there and just like that stuff. And that's one of the big groups that like I try to stay away from the vast majority of the time. I think the last group, this is going to sound bad. I'm not targeting any one person with this, but there are definitely people out there I've noticed where I'm going to say they're idiots. Yeah. They're professional idiots. What do I mean? These are people that will be like, hey, I know, I'm going to content farm Twitter by sitting here and being like, whoa, I didn't know Zenobia was hot. Or like, whoa, I didn't know that it took this amount of bond to level up Shu Fu. Or like, whoa, no one ever told me that you couldn't level bond on MASH. And it's bait. And somehow people actually go like, yeah, hey, I know this person's an idiot, but I need to tell them that they're an idiot. And thus I keep engaging with their tweets, and it keeps actually content farming them. It's like, it's simultaneously either people trying to show the person that they are in fact an idiot, or straight up trying to show how smart they are. And unfortunately, I think that's the truth. I think like even if you go look at like Reddit and you go look at Twitter, this is the problem with the FGO community that I've talked about before in the past, where it's like so many people think they're like an armchair content creator, where it's like, oh, I'm the expert. Look how smart I am. Look how much I know. Like, it's fine. Like, it's A-okay to like, you know, take pride in like your knowledge and stuff like that. But I've noticed that like in a weird way in the FGO community has gotten warped, and that there's just a ton of people out there that like they actually look down on others for like not knowing things, or they straight up think that they're like somehow more superior because they know something. And I'm like, it's so stupid, dude. They content farm themselves by reacting to the idiots. Yes. And it's like, it's such a simple formula, but I can't believe it keeps working because people are actually like stupid enough to keep engaging with it. Like, and the example I'm going to give you, chat, is I have literally watched people sit there and like content farm their entire way through the game now. Like, where it's like they're up to like current stuff, and yet they still try to pretend like they don't know things from the past. And I'm like, come on, you knew that, but you tweeted it because you knew it was good bait. And somehow everyone else is too stupid to realize that. It feels like I think the opposite of these people. I don't do shit to get attention. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Like, and I guess in that regard, it makes me a terrible content creator. So that's usually why I ask you guys for help to some degree, is like, hey, you know, like if you guys go to talk to other people, if you guys go to like hang out with other groups and stuff like that, like, I don't know, like do your best to like, one, represent me well, and two, like, hey, if people need help, send them my way, right? Like, because I don't go out there. I don't put myself out there enough because I don't want to engage with some of these people, because any amount of engagement that I would do with some of these people would naturally come across negatively, because nobody likes being pointed out that they're wrong. It doesn't matter how polite you are about it. It doesn't matter how like, you know, basically on the nose or straight and to the point you are. It will not matter. People will get upset with you. So I've learned it's like, it's better to just not engage. Don't tell the people that they're wrong. And to be fair, chat, where I actually learned this was years ago, back when the subreddit was in its infancy. They and they still have this, but it's like they have a help thread that they do like every single week basically. And I used to go in there all the time, and I used to answer people's questions, used to help them, and I stopped. Because I learned you could give a 100% correct answer. We're not talking something that's subjective, right? We're talking like somebody asking an actual like game mechanic, right? And you could give the correct answer, and people would come in there and argue with you. And like, this isn't a help thread. This is like you answering someone else's question, and you would get a third party coming in and coming at you. And I realized I was just like, these people are beyond help. It's like there's a point where it's like, yeah, I mean, I can help, I can answer the question, but I'm like, I'm not going to get anything done in a place like this, because it was basically just a gigantic dick measuring contest for those people. They're like, he can't answer that. I disagree with this take. And it's like, it's not a take. I'm actually citing what a game mechanic is. Well, that's not true because of this one time I did this one thing and I don't think it's true. In fact, I know it's not true. And you're like, no, I'm sorry. You're just wrong. It is actually true. This is the way that this works. And you would just watch this happen over and over and over again. And you're just like, dude, please. And that's like, in a weird way, that's actually what propelled me to my identity as a content creator. It's why I started making a whole bunch of guide content for you guys, because I realized these people were relatively uneducated. And while there was content out there that could serve to inform them, I did notice a common trend with all of the existing guide content that was out for FGO in its early inception, was that a lot of it didn't actually explain it. So they would tell you like, hey, this is a thing, because the people would like sit there and they would be like, hey, I know it's a thing because I've seen it happen a number of times. But they maybe didn't have the actual data to back it up. They didn't have the actual wherewithal to explain why and how it works. So like, for instance, chat, I'm not the first person to do a guide on craft essence bomb making. But as far as I know, my video is the biggest on it. And the reason why is because I finally put out a video that actually explained it. Like everybody and their brother was doing it, but the ways that it was explained prior to that point was very convoluted and people had no idea what they were actually doing. And so then I released a video that's like, no, this is how it works and this is why you want to do it. And I think that's the missing step for a lot of people. Most people probably can tell you the why, but can't tell you the how. Or most people can tell you the how, but they can't tell you why. And what I really tried to do with a lot of my early content is do both. I tried to give you both in one video so that you could understand the mechanics. And that's actually where like a lot of the Explain series comes from too. You have a guide video for command code removers? No. I mean, I guess technically it's covered under command codes, but you can state facts all you want, but some people will make it political. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about literally just like FGO, right? Like, in the sense, though, yeah, I can see the sentiment where it's like some people don't like the truth, and therefore they will disagree with you on things. Grind 900 apples for a lotto? Do you think I have enough time to clear out all my apples? I'm gonna be honest with you, Lucario. Didn't you like make this whole big stink about doing like 2,000 boxes in the prior lotto? You don't have 900 apples. Unfortunately, in construction, we have Darwin Awards. Yeah, Darwin Awards are a thing. And like, again, I don't know. In general, chat, I don't look down on people because they're uninformed. I don't look down on people because they're a skeptic or they don't believe you, right? I've always taken the approach of, if somebody isn't informed, let me try to inform them. If somebody doubts what I'm saying, let me try to prove it. If somebody disagrees with my stance, let me give the best possible like argument that I can. But I don't necessarily view the person as like, oh man, like they're somehow less than me. There might be a point though where I go like, oh man, this person's an idiot. because I realize that like I'm presenting them with actual data. I'm presenting them with a series of like I shouldn't have done that. I'm presenting them with a series of like circumstances to demonstrate why something should be the way that it is, why they should do it, and they keep willfully ignoring it. Right? Like when I realize that sort of thing's going on, that's when I just start to give up. Because there's like, chat, it's the age-old saying, you can lead a horse to water, you cannot make it drink. So when you realize that somebody, if you're discussing something and you're having a debate or an argument, right, and you realize that they just refuse to see things your way, that is a good sign simply to stop. Because all you can do is put your best foot forward. If they disagree with you, they disagree. And it is what it is. And it's like nothing good's going to come from continuing to hammer it. Nothing good is going to come from sitting there and telling them that they're wrong. They're already clearly upset. They're already closed-minded. They're not going to listen to you. So it doesn't mean that like you completely write them off forever and ever, but it is something where you just have to say like, yeah, I guess this person's just not going to listen. Not right now. Not with the way they're thinking. And this is why, to some degree, chat, we have these issues in the community. Sometimes I discuss these things on stream with you guys, and people tell me I'm crazy. People tell me I'm coping. People tell me that, like, no, Cad, it's not nearly as bad as you're saying it is. And then I drop it. And then it comes up again later. And then again later. And then again later. And it's really funny to watch as like community perception slowly gets to the point that I was making. As like a lot of the time I'm just way ahead of the curve. It's because I'm usually thinking into the future. Because that's what you have to do. Like you just have to realize that it's like, okay, they're not of the same mentality of me. They can't see why this could be a thing yet. And if I'm patient, they may come around. But if I just sit there and I keep telling them they're wrong, you're an idiot, wow, you're such a fucking loser, blah, 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 blah. If I start getting pedantic, if I start getting name calling, if I start like getting ad hominem and attacking them rather than attacking their actual argument, they're not going to listen anyways. They'll just instead further entrench, they'll develop a hatred for me. And it'll be what it'll be. People always downplay prophets. I'm not a prophet. Like, it's just a lot of where like some of my takes come from some of these times, chat, are, again, I sit there, I look at the current status of the game, and I'm somebody that like I've been a part, obviously, of like numerous game communities over the years, right? But my big bread and butter, chat, by far, and it's wild because chat never gets to see this out of me anymore. I'm an MMO player at heart. So I have been around live service for a long time. I have been around revolving balance doors for a long time. I have been basically in these situations that we now see becoming manifest in gacha games for decades. So I speak almost from both a point of experience and also a point of like putting myself in the dev's shoes and trying to think like them. And usually with those two things combined, I'm pretty accurate at predicting the way things are going to end up. Because I've seen it all before. It's history repeating itself. I've been here before, like Squid Games 2, and no one's listening. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I have literally felt that. When he said that line during the show, that resonated with me hella hard. Because I was like, yep. Yep. And it sucks. I'm into it more proverbially. Yeah. I don't want anyone to think that I have some sort of god complex or something, because I don't. And I can be wrong too, so. Nintendo is going through something like that with the Switch 2. Dude, it's not even the Switch 2, okay? Like, or sorry, not even the Wii U, right? Like, the Switch 2, don't look at the Wii U, chat. The Wii U is not your predecessor to the Switch 2 debacle. Historically, the predecessor to the Switch 2 debacle, y'all know what it is. Go on. It's another console. Roth got it. We've seen all of this before, chat. We've seen it all before. When I decided to fly from the inside. The Stadia. I think the Stadia would have had to have gotten off the ground for it to be compared. I think the price tag from the console itself is fine. Yeah, it's like the one area that it's different. I feel like, given the technological advancements that they've made with the new console, the console itself being more expensive is a-okay. I don't think like anybody really has an issue with that side of things. I think the issue is like, bro, what the fuck are these costs of these games? What the fuck? What do you mean I have to have an online subscription in order to use voice chat? What do you mean I need to pay to be able to do the tech demo for your new thing? Like, that's where people have issues. And yeah, the game price is especially like tone deaf, given that we just went through a $70 up. Like, that price shift literally was already poorly received by the community. So going to $80 is like, all right, see where that ends up. Tariff has nothing to do with it, Zero. They came out and said that. There's been a lot of people on like Twitter and Reddit trying to blame the tariffs. The pricing is 100% Nintendo's decision. Like, people have been trying to white knight Nintendo during this, and it's like, nah, chat. It's the $80 price tag is them being scummy. There's really no way around that. Detective of being paid is crazy. Yeah, what's even more crazy is they unlearned the lesson of their past, and there you go. It's history repeats, right? Apparently, with like Wii Sports, Reggie went to the Nintendo president at the time and encouraged him to put it on the Wii for free, and the president didn't want to, but Reggie kept insisting, kept begging, and the president finally relented. And Reggie was right. And it's really funny because now in retrospect, we have them doing what Reggie didn't do, and they immediately caught flack. They immediately caught flack for it. So Reggie was right. Like, he was absolutely right. And at the end of the day, the reason that Reggie was right is because Reggie realized they had this new system with these new features, and they were trying to sell an untested concept to people. And Reggie knew we need to give them basically what amounts to a tech demo for it for free. Something that they will like, something that they will enjoy. And as a result, like, nearly everybody that has like basically gotten a Wii has played Wii Sports. And everybody has a popular opinion of it. Like everybody likes it. So it's one of those deals where all of a sudden you realize that what they actually they didn't get to make money off of that directly, but where they made the money from it was from goodwill. And that actually transferred all the way down the line. It skipped the Wii U because the Wii U was a bad deal, but it literally jumped right to the Switch. And that, hey, they've already been here before, they already know what they're doing, created a lot of consumer confidence in the Switch. So, quite literally, Reggie's decision had a ripple effect that absolutely benefited them. Now, when you look at this is going to have a ripple effect. It's not a good one. It's going to cost them, and it's really funny. Yeah, the only thing that they've stated is due to tariffs. Is at this point they're saying that they're delaying for it. However, chat, I need to clarify the error on Nintendo. Just for the record, Nintendo did predict a trade war between the United States and China. And that is why Nintendo moved the production of the Switch 2 to Vietnam. Okay? So, like, don't get upset about, like, the whole situation between the US and China. That won't impact Nintendo. Vietnam also has tariffs, but lesser. Vietnam has tariffs, but Vietnam was the very first country to reach out and try to negotiate. So it's like Vietnam will probably come out of this smelling like a rose, as opposed to like, I mean, you know, I don't know if like Russia or China has at this point. They didn't predict they'd be like in the tariff world. Yeah. And so it's like, I understand why they moved it to Vietnam, and I think that will benefit them still in the end. And here's what I'm going to say, chat. Assuming that Vietnam does negotiate down to 0%, which I do think is a fair assumption, because they'll want to, you know, quote unquote, make an example. Assuming that is the case, I do think that you will see no impact on the Switch 2's pricing. However, what you need to watch is whether or not a set of like tariffs actually does go hard into play for Vietnam, and whether or not Nintendo does change the price. If Nintendo changes the price for tariffs, and then the tariffs quite literally get removed and the price doesn't go down, who are you going to blame, chat? Just saying. I don't doubt for even a second that Nintendo will try to take advantage of this situation. We can already see that because, again, like them delaying the pre-orders for Canada. So I think this is still largely going to be on Nintendo. How Nintendo reacts to the situation is up to them. But Nintendo is, honestly, at this point, still really well positioned for this sort of thing. I think Nintendo is having an Xbox One moment. Yeah, I agree. I think Nintendo is. I think Nintendo is literally headed for a rude wake-up call. I do think you're going to see people that are going to buy the Switch 2. I do think you're going to see people that are going to pay the $80 for games. I do think those people are going to be very few and far between. I think probably on the Japanese side, the Switch 2 will be more popular. I think on the global side, the Switch 2 will be insanely unpopular because of two things. One, economically, the world is still reeling quite a bit from numerous things. People just don't have the spending power at the moment. And two, I now think the gaming community largely has turned against Nintendo. And unless Nintendo actually tries to do something to win them back, Nintendo is now going to be that new console to hate. And you're going to see the PlayStation and Xbox fanboys absolutely dog it because they're tired of hearing how Nintendo is outselling them by droves, right? So I think at that point they're tired of quite literally all the messaging that happened during the Switch period there. So with Switch 2 here, they're going to basically kind of reap it back. And they're going to absolutely make sure that that gets made fun of, that gets dogged on. And I think that's going to cause some issues. I'm sure they'll use it as an excuse for artificial scarcity. That's going to be interesting to see. I will give Nintendo credit for this. I think Nintendo has, with their whole way that they're handling pre-orders, actually done a lot of people a solid. I think in that regard, it's very anti-scalper, and I think people will appreciate that. But being able to get your hands on a console that you don't want to get your hands on is kind of a non-starter. And quite literally, because maybe a lot of people actually hold out and don't get a Switch, I don't think there will be scarcity. I think a lot of people are going to go, I already have a Switch, I don't need a Switch 2. I think a lot of people are going to go, I don't want a Switch 2 because I don't like what Nintendo's doing. And so I think they're really going to have to try hard to attract people with the games. I'm not going to say they can't do it, but I am going to say, right now, I think there's two really big camps in terms of the games that are driving the interest in Nintendo. And I think the first one is just in general Nintendo's own IPs. So Metroid, Mario, you name it, right? I think that sort of thing, you're always going to have the Nintendo fans. They're definitely going to. But yes, I think the other one is going to be, quote unquote, the Duskbloods, aka Bloodborne 2. And I think the bellwether for that one, the bellwether for the Duskbloods, is going to be Night Rain. And how people react to Night Rain will determine whether or not the Duskbloods becomes a really hot ticket item or a big nothing burger that no one's interested in, or somewhere in between, right? So there's going to be this weird relationship here, because we know that the Duskbloods is going to be similar to Night Rain, at least in the sense that it's supposedly a PvPvE game. Same thing as Night Rain. So I think a lot of people are going to determine that, if Night Rain comes out and people don't care for it, they will apply that same mentality to Duskblood. I'm skeptical about Night Rain at the moment. I am too. I'm at this current point in time, I'm not getting Night Rain, because to me, the gameplay looks repetitive. It looks like it'd be fun for maybe the first couple hours, and then you would immediately start noticing repetitive design. From what I get, Duskbloods is basically Night Rain with a Bloodborne setting. Right. And so that's what I'm saying. Night Rain will determine whether or not Duskbloods actually is a hot ticket item. I think if Night Rain comes out and it flops, people will go oh, no, I'm not interested. But if Night Rain does good and people really like it, and it becomes this big hype thing, then people are going to be really hype up Duskbloods, right? So we'll just have to see. Because I think that sort of thing is not altogether guaranteed. I do see a lot of people still trying to hype Night Rain. I see a lot of people that have actually sat down and played or watched the gameplay of Night Rain seemingly are kind of mixed on it. Because it's not the typical Dark Souls, aka Elden Ring formula. So I think that already just has people maybe a little bit more wary of it. but we'll see, because I do think, like, for instance, the hardcore people within the like the Elden Ring and Dark Souls community will embrace it, but whether or not it will capture the casuals will determine if it's largely profitable and successful. It depends on the casuals. Yep. As do pretty much all games nowadays. And that's like, there's always going to be some amount of like, hey, you know, I don't like this game or I don't like that game from the, you know, the community with regards to these. People have their favorites when it comes to all of the Souls likes. So I just want a normal new Souls game and not a boss rush multiplayer game that's online only. Right. And I'm kind of the same way. Like, I can see why people would find that style of game fun, but I don't think that style of game is for me. Because part of the things that I really do enjoy the most in a Dark Souls game is like making my build, exploring the world, finding loot. Yes, overcoming challenges, but to me, the challenges are just part of it. Whereas like in Night Rain, you're in a more like battle royale style environment where the world is actually shrinking around you and you are dealing with RNG bosses with an RNG loot table. Some people may really like that. That's fine. To me, I feel like I would just kind of get like, oh man, I don't really care too much about this. So it's more of a like battle royale / roguelike type of formula. And again, that will appeal to a lot of people. But will it appeal to the masses? I don't know. And I can't say. Not at the current point in time. And from the gameplay that I viewed, just watching somebody play through it on one of the beta tests, I did not feel like it was like that good. I watched it and I already felt like it was getting like repetitive to me, just from what I was seeing. And the player, I think I was watching Ellie Jazz, and he was on like, I think he said he was on his like third character already. And it was like, okay. Like, I'm sure he was playing the crap out of it, but I think he was saying something like, and he's a really good player, but he was saying something like it takes him like 45 minutes or something to complete a run. So it's like, I'm sure to other people it would take longer, but then also I start to think about that and I go like, I mean, like what's the clear time they're thinking? Are they thinking like a 4-hour clear time? That might be too long. Are they thinking like an hour clear time? That's way too short. Like, so I really wonder how that game is going to turn out. I'm going to be fascinated by that game for a little bit, just as a like case study, right? Because this is something that I love. I love analyzing the video gaming industry and like how certain games perform. It's less of a like me trying to like promote an agenda or like shit on a game or anything like that, and more just me just having a like extremely like rabid interest in it, in the metrics. Imagine if it becomes the new Fortnite somehow. That'd be wild, but I don't think it would. I think something like that, they would have to support Night Rain continuously for it to become something like that, right? There's just no way. Like you could have a game be successful and be popular like that, but it has to be continuously sustained to not get repetitive and boring. Because at 80 to 100 a game, most people be more cautious when buying games. Oh yeah, I mean, I've said this before, but when they upped the price to $70, you already saw how people reacted. People were like, hold on. What do you mean? What do you mean $70? I probably won't talk about politics too much. We were already treading the line with talking about the tariffs, so I'd rather get off that subject, Devil. It cannot be hard at all to hit that much mass multiplayer. I think Night Rain So let me state this. I think there's a ton of people that will get Night Rain purely because it's FromSoft. Okay? But I think a portion of those people have already seen the content, like it, and are all in. I think a big portion of the people have not seen it. I think they didn't watch the beta gameplay. They've only seen the quote-unquote hype trailer. And those are the people that I wonder if they just waltz right in, are they going to like it? And are they going to come out the other side of it like hating it? You like a look of Emma Frost in Marvel Rivals? I like the thighs. Her face be kind of mannish. She is objectively the least hot to me. I think we're going to hit back to the NES, SNES era where even console games, the prices are all over the place. Yeah, and then, like, I'll give Nintendo credit for this. Like, at least they've said, like, hey, we're going to start valuing the games at the price that we think they're worth. And I'm like, oh, hey, that's cool. I don't trust you, Nintendo. Because Nintendo isn't Steam. Nintendo literally does not put their shit on sale, but like maybe once a year. And when they do, it's like a 20% sale. So it's like, yeah, no. I don't think Nintendo gets to do that. Like I saw Doug Bowser came out and he said like, yeah, we're going to be doing this because we think like we need to value it at what's worth and how much development time goes into it. And he said it's like the model is going to be variable pricing. And I literally put this in gaming news on the Discord and I said like the biggest counter to variable pricing is variable purchasing. Like, cool, you increase the price, I decrease the price that I'm going to pay. What's that mean? Well, if you jack up the price of your game beyond what I think it's worth, I'm not buying it. Congratulations, you varied the price, you got less money. The service issue, it is. Benevolent God Nintendo with the 20%, yeah. Because, like, I'll be honest with you guys, I probably would have played way more of their games if not for the fact that, like, their shit just never goes on sale. So it's like, that is one of the big problems. And because Nintendo doesn't do PC, it is what it is. So I think Nintendo's kind of going all in right now on the, how do I put it? Like, all in on the exclusivity angle. Now, what I will say is exclusivity was tried and failed. It did not work for PlayStation or Xbox. And now all of their shit is on PC. But will Nintendo suffer that same fate? I don't know. That depends. Because if we can say one thing about Nintendo out of PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo by far takes care of their IPs. Way better than the other two do. Way better. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that Nintendo hasn't dropped the ball on things over time. They absolutely have. But Nintendo actually has tried to keep their IPs relevant. They do, for the most part, try to make sure that they release regular installments of them. And I think their IPs have remained popular because of that. I also think with regards to, like, I'll give you guys an example. Let's take Mario. Chat, what was the last bad Mario game that came out? Oh, it's an interesting question. People are saying maybe. Actually, question mark? A bad one? All right, chat. Let me compare this with something else. Let's put Mario aside since we can't have a conclusive answer. Chat, what was the last bad Halo game to get released? Dad, mind if I mention a good video on the Nintendo stuff? Throw it in the React channel. The point that I'm going to make here is your reaction chat was way different, right? So it's pretty clear that Mario is held in much higher regard compared to Halo, that originally was held in high regard, but has since become quite doo-doo, right? Like, that's what I take from that. Regardless of your opinions as to which game is good and which game is bad, I noticed that the reaction immediately to Mario and me asking that question was like, I don't know, maybe this one? Like, is there anyone? Like, versus Halo, y'all were debating which one. Not in the sense of like, is there one? You were debating which one was the last bad one. So it was not a question of if there was a bad one. It was a question of which ones qualify, which ones are the worst. And it's like, okay, that's an example right there. That's why. That's why Nintendo has such a stranglehold. That's why exclusivity works for Nintendo. Because people still really like their IPs. People will go out and they will buy a console to play their IPs. If you were to say that about like an Xbox game, that's not happening, not with their current strategy. If you were to say that about a PlayStation, I mean, let's be honest, chat, how many people bought a PlayStation 5, right? Like, I do think there's a ton of people that bought it, but I do think there was also a ton of people that didn't. There were a ton of people that were sitting there going, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Like, it's too expensive. I don't have the money right now. They don't have games on it. Like, the games that they do have are ones that I don't want, or they're ones that I can get on another platform. You look at Nintendo, and the major selling point is the exclusives. Thank you, Cal. Appreciate it. So I think that's really what drives it, by far. Like, more than anything else. I think that's what gets people to actually, like, hey, I'm going to buy a Nintendo. Why? Because I want to play the latest blank game. What's blank? I don't know. You fill it in. Mario, Zelda, Metroid, F-Zero. I'm sorry. I had to throw in a joke. Anyways, like, the idea being that people will actually go and have that brand loyalty. They don't have it with the other things because they've been taught not to have it. Nintendo hasn't taught you not to have it yet. Nintendo is just now, with this Switch 2, they have finally put a crack in the window. They put an actual crack in it. Because for the first time ever, people are going, whoa, what is this? Nintendo's actually being scummy. It's not that people didn't think that Nintendo wasn't scummy before. It's that people tolerated it because of all the other offsets. Now, the seesaw has tilted to the opposite direction too much. And people are going, nope, this is too much. So that's their issue. Nintendo has finally begun to actually, like, break the window that was, holding everything back. And so as a result, you're going to see some people, they're not going to be as loyal to Nintendo. they're not going to end up getting the new console. And like, Chad, if you're one of those people that's like, hey, I disagree with you, Cad. I really want the Switch 2. I'm gonna go out and gonna buy it on launch. I'm super excited for it. That's fine. Like, I'm not trying to like sit there and like shit on you or convince you not to get it or anything like that. I'm merely pointing out that a lot of people are pissed about this, and a lot of people probably won't. And yeah, I think it's an issue of goodwill. I think all of the goodwill that Nintendo has built up, now finally there's a chink in the armor. They're finally beginning to say, okay, hold on. Like, maybe we've propped Nintendo up on too high of a pedestal. If Nintendo had brought back Jack and Daxter or Sly Cooper, I would own a PS5. Yeah. Nintendo produces constant or consistent good games. Yeah, and I do think that's the other factor. So it's like, it may be not another factor. It may simply be the cause that leads to the effect. So Nintendo taking really good care of their IPs is the effect of them always trying to make their games fun. Chat, what do I mean? This gets into a much bigger issue in video gaming. It's the concept of microtransactions. It's the concept of live service. It's the concept of, I need to make a game to make a profit. And that is what naturally influences game design. And the examples that I've given you guys over time, I can give them to you again, but it's things like, hey, we decided that we are not going to charge a subscription fee for our MMO. What do? Well, we lock all cosmetics behind a cash shop. Therefore, there's no cool cosmetics to find out in the world. Or, hey, the only way you can get things is by paying money for them through a cash shop. You can get them the normal way, but if you try to get them the normal way, it takes literally forever. So they purposely slow down the game and try to make everything take forever to incentivize the cash shop. That's the problem with designing a game with monetary concerns first, is if you design it that way, all of your systems will literally be engineered in order to promote that. You don't have to, but quite literally, this is just a slippery slope that we notice every developer falls for that trap. They get greedy. They go like, well, if some is good, a lot is better. I can make more money off of this. To future events in JP, when is the new collab event? We're probably going to have Ordeal Call 4 instead. I don't know that we're getting a new collab. But yeah, like, looking at that, then you look at something where it's like, okay, what happens instead when you design with fun first? When you design to make a good game? You don't care about the profitability of the game because, chat, you trust that in making your game fun, that you have created a good product, and that product will sell itself. In a weird way, chat, welcome to content creation. Remember what I said earlier in the stream, my content's got to get better? That's exactly what I mean. I have to literally make content more engaging. I have to make it more informative. I have to make it more entertaining. That is making good content. Not, I need more money, I need everybody to go watch my shit video. That's monetary first, and that leads nowhere. Fun first absolutely leads to more money. So, to use an age-old adage, it's putting the cart before the horse. If you literally design for money first, that cart's going nowhere. If you instead design for fun, that cart is going places. Nintendo got that for years. It's going to be really interesting to see, though, do they with the Switch 2? Because we already saw the cracks in that back in the Switch 1 era. Because, chat, in Switch 1, that's where we started seeing Nintendo do microtransactions for the first time. It was good, and I enjoyed the format and showing examples for the notes too. Good. Glad you enjoyed it. But yeah, so it's like Nintendo started dabbling with microtransactions and monetary design last generation. So this new next generation going forward, I really wonder, will that greed that they have for the console, that greed that they have for the price, will that begin to seep into the live service and microtransaction schemes that they've done with the game? And if it does, we may be witnessing Nintendo imploding. That's all I can say. Because I think for a large degree, Nintendo always has good, fun games. But man, oh man. How should I record this? Ryouma? Yeah, we're gonna use Ryouma in his own stuff. Okay. Did you see the new Ryouma buff? No, there's a new Ryouma buff? Hey, this is literally the buff that I'm doing right now. Recording video footage? Yeah, to a degree. I have to get footage here because... Thank you, comma. Basically, I don't think Avalon has Ryouma on JP, and I myself only have like an NP1. Care about the live action Zelda? Oh no. So they stop stealing money with waifus? What? Where'd Cad and Aurelia go? I turned them off right now, since I'm recording raw footage here. Do we get Jack Black to play Link? I would rather see Jack Black play like Tingle. Apparently the Minecraft movie's been doing good. I don't know whether or not it's like actually good or it's just like people will watch anything nowadays type deal. I assume like to some degree there has to be some level of like, hey, it's actually decent. Did you guys hear about Cad's new Lotto guide? That's right. Do you think I can get away with Nero Bride? Well, I have the unbuffed version. Where's my bride? There she is. No, it's Shufu. I can do Shufu later. Just have bride early. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So what is making Disney consider not making more live actions altogether? It's so stupid too, because like I think the vast majority of these things are easily remediable if you just had like a group of like normal people that you consulted about the movie. And they would be like, "No, you're being insane. Don't do that." He's recording? Yeah, sorry, I'm recording at the moment. Since I can't do this unless I'm home, right? It's ages since I've used Double Castoria. Yeah. Oh, Bichon. I don't know if that'll be enough. His test screenings went badly. Yeah, it's almost like you had a bad cast for the movie. And everybody told you that throughout the entire process. I think that's so, chat. To be honest with you, I think this is the number one issue with Hollywood. Actors are way too overpaid and have way too good of contracts. Straight up. That is like issue number one with Hollywood. Issue number two is either writers are getting subverted for studio agendas, or quite literally, the writers that a studio is choosing are just bad. And everyone seems to think that it's the latter, but I will at least leave open the possibility that it could be the former. Okay, let's go with that. Because I don't know if I'll have enough here otherwise. We're actually trying to showcase new stuff. I don't know if Bride and Shufu will work. We can try. For Snow White, it's both bad actress and bad actors. Yeah. Well, it's two waves, no? Probably. Yeah. Kind of caused myself an issue here, but I should be fine. The problem is going to be if I need to actually 3-turn. The light shines through me. I pretend I'm my eye. The more the dark consumes me, I pretend I'm burning. Burning bright. Imagine how much servants will have to make if they did it. Yeah. So I could have gone for the mighty chain, but I'm choosing to go for the arch chain in case this does end up as a 3-turn. Okay. There you go, chat. That's 3 runs. That should be something, right? He has nice animations, not gonna lie. I literally think Ryouma is a sad story at this point of basically he comes out, he is immediately maligned for being like another arts looper, and people just did not understand his numbers. So we'll talk about it. But now I actually have the upgrade on him. Okay. Burning bright. Do, 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 do. Yeah, I gotta think about how to word my my statements here, because I can go like Hellfire and Brimstone, or I can go like, oh, you're so cute, you don't know any better. Oof. 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 God, she needs it. That's not going to make people happy. Oh. Avalon, will you do me one more favor? Are you looking at Vitra? No? You'll see. I'm just hoping the refund is cleaner. Yeah. I'm just waiting on Avalon to send me something. Shouldn't take too long, though. Actually, kind of hungry. I had a like Cuban chicken bowl with cilantro rice and black beans. It was so good, but like it's actually like running through me. Okay, that's what I want to say. Aren't all banners bait technically? Yes. Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, good. Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. I needed the numbers in my head for comparative sake, so I didn't talk out of my ass. Okay.
Sorry, I'm just thinking for 1 second, chat. Did he have the invuln pierce? No, he didn't. Yeah, okay. My brain was sitting there thinking, I was like, wait a minute, doesn't he have it? Extend the retro stuff so you can see where she fits in. What do you mean? Oh, I don't. If you're talking about like in P5, I don't need to see that. You're good. Um. Celeb Summer Experience event? Oh. What? Was that the actual name of this event? No. Okay, BB presents Celeb Summer. Dubai Strikes Back. Dude, nobody refers to it as this. Nobody. Like everyone refers to it as Dubai Summer, as far as I've ever heard. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. We don't need to show that. All right. Now I'm ready to record, chat. Sorry. I know that took a little bit. I needed to like get my brain in the right place and also set things up. Oh, C3 Summer, yeah. I want to be the xylophone guy in this. Da-da-da. Hey guys, my name's Kadroth, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Sakamoto Ryouma Lancer's newest upgrade. That's going to be his NP Interlude. Now, Ryouma Lancer has been a very interesting unit ever since he came out. And I have seen some amazingly bad takes on this character. And as a result, I do feel the need to kind of say something here right off the bat. And that's that while this buff absolutely does help Ryouma, this buff is almost helping it in a way that most people don't realize. You see, where the biggest gain in this buff is damage. And yet, I keep seeing a ton of people talk about Ryouma's refund. Well, the issue here is that Sakamoto Ryoma, for a long period in time in the community, has been kind of held up as an example of an arts unit that refunds bad. And that's not the case at all. It literally never has been. Sakamoto Ryoma has always been a Black Grail looping character. And so it's kind of one of those weird issues where people really feel the need to kind of dog on a character that's maybe not their favorite or somehow threatening to one of their favorites. Ryouma, in a large way, should never have been that threatening to most people because, frankly speaking, his biggest issue has always been his damage. Ryouma comes to us pretty much right after Melisson comes into the game, so already right off the bat, that was a non-starter for a lot of people. Melisson came out, she was immediately very strong, and people just kind of took that and ran with it. So when Ryouma came out in the Guda event right after, people just didn't really have that much interest in them. And I don't blame them. I'm not going to fault anybody who maybe had their misconceptions about Ryouma in the past, but I am going to try to clear them up. So, Ryouma, as you guys know, is a limited unit. He's a unit that basically is a 5-star variant of a 4-star welfare. A lot of people love Oreo here, his companion, so to speak. And so, to a degree, Ryouma's always been somewhat popular, but not maybe to the tier that like some of the biggest husbandos or waifus in the game are. I do think it's a sort of beloved unit for a lot of people, but again, still not that insane level of popularity. Now, the issue with Ryouma stems from a lot of things. For starters, he just does not have a ton of attack, and that's always been something that has been held against him by the community. But I'm going to say, remember, attack is not everything. In fact, what really dictates whether or not a unit will be strong is the summation of all their parts. So this was certainly an issue that I think a lot of people looked at, but really the kind of issue lies deeper in. And if you look at his skills, he's definitely got a nice set. He's got 20% arts up on his first skill, but also then a 30% arts up on his third. So he still has 50% of a steroid there, each one of those being a 3-turn duration. So nothing too bad with that. He does have a little bit of crit damage baked in there, does have the buster up in the star gen, and his second skill here is a 50% charge skill. Now, I've long kind of held that in FGO, it's pretty difficult to be a bad unit if you have a 50% charge skill. And this does hold true here, because due to this skill, even though people thought Ryouma refunded bad, it actually is what enables Ryouma to Black Grail loop. And furthermore, this really just kind of was always the case with him. Where Ryouma actually does struggle, and still struggles after this upgrade, is that Ryouma is not going to be that unit that's just going to be able to like double Castoria loop and kind of be fine. You can do that with him with different craft essences. You can absolutely allow him, if you give him some starting charge, to be able to loop through nodes. But if you're trying to start him out from zero, trying to get the most bang for your buck and, you know, slap a Black Grail or something like that on him, this is going to be one of those situations where at that point, you're going to need the third support. This does happen for a lot of units in the game, and we actually see a lot of people in kind of discussions about units hold this against people. I understand nobody really wants to use Plug Suit, but this isn't really a knock against any unit in the game. And in fact, I'm going to say some of people's favorite units also use Plug Suit to operate in a 3-turn environment. Realistically, people need to stop looking at Plug Suit as a detriment. Obviously, it makes a node take longer, it's more button presses. But at the end of the day, it's also the singular most powerful damage amplification tool in the entire game. Even stronger than something like Oberon. And the reason why is because it quite literally can add another Oberon to your composition, in addition to what it already does. So things like Plug Suit shouldn't be looked down on. They should naturally be instead something that is just accepted as part of a composition. Yes, we do have units that can loop through even with just the 2 supports. That's obviously really good for those units. but naturally those units tend to have really high refund and usually really low damage to offset this sort of thing. There are some obvious exceptions to this rule, but in general, that's the idea and the premise behind the balance choice there. And this is why, again, I'm going to say that things like a plug suit are not a bad draw. So him having the 50% charge is not a bad thing. And this is actually really good for him down the stretch, even after the update, because what this enables him to do. And I'll talk about that here in a minute. Let's go actually talk about Ryouma's actual update here. So we get to his Noble Phantasm, and this is what the devs decided, you know what, Ryouma just needs a Noble Phantasm upgrade. You know, personally, I would have liked to see that a little bit for Lartoria, but I'm not going to look the gift horse in the mouth for the buff that she got. But it is an interesting thing to see them immediately right after do another Noble Phantasm upgrade. So his Noble Phantasm started out as a 3-hit Arts NP. He's AoE, so 3 hits turns into 9 in a 3-enemy wave, but 3 hits is not a whole lot. That being said, some of the same people that were criticizing Ryouma in the past were kind of being a little bit willfully unaware that, yeah, even units like Space Ishtar have a 3-hit NP. So kind of trying to hold that against him somehow is a little bit hypocritical of some people. But I digress. The point being that obviously this will limit his refund somewhat. And you guys can see he increases his own defense by 50% for 1 turn. This does mean that he's going to be a little bit tanky every turn that he NPs, which if you have his NP rolling turn after turn in a challenge environment, means he's going to be a really hard unit to bring down and somebody that's definitely going to take a lot less damage. He also increases his own NP damage for 3 turns activating first. It's one of the strongest aspects to his NP because this will stack every time you loop him, and it is something that interacts favorably with the likes of Oberon. So definitely a really, really nice thing for him. But they come back in, they upgrade this NP, and what they do is they add an additional 20% NP generation for 1 turn activating first. Now let's talk about this. You're probably going to go, oh, well, Cad, you just said he didn't have bad NP gain, so why did they add NP gain to him? Well, that's an interesting idea. And the issue at play here is that this actually doesn't do that much for him. You see, this does help him out some, but this realistically does not change his looping scenario at all. You're still going to be able to use the same units that you already could with him, and this doesn't really allow him to be able to get away with even more. Instead, what this does is this actually enables him to work in certain select situations that he struggled in before. And I'll detail those for you guys here in a second. But interestingly enough, this doesn't actually make a huge change. Why? Because he was already a unit that did have only about 50% refund off of his MP. So as a result, a arts unit that naturally had a little bit lower refund and relied more on brute force charging, adding a little bit more refund to them doesn't go a whole long way. And so as a result, this is a nice benefit, but it's not a huge deal. From here, we upgraded his damage. It's just a standard upgrade. So basically what that meant, and you guys can actually see this here if you go back to the normal version, is that NP2 at 600% became the new NP1 at 600%. NP5 at 750% became the new NP2 at 750%. That's how a standard NP interlude goes for literally every unit in the game, unless they have a non-standard one. And it's a really, really interesting thing to see, and we'll show that to you with the actual damage numbers here in a minute. From here, they also added the ability to automatically drain the gauge of enemies by 1. That's actually probably the strongest effect here outside of the damage. This is really, really good because this means that Ryouma, as he continues to loop through, will just keep depriving enemies of their Noble Phantasm. Thing is, Ryouma's not necessarily going to be the strongest unit with regards to a continual loop because he is lower refund. So what this means is that he's going to be stronger in a scenario where you maybe don't have a perfect set of 3 enemy waves, but maybe weaker in a scenario where he has to go the distance longer after 3 turns. That's just the natural impact of relying on MP gain versus relying on charge like he does. So because he relies on charge, he's not necessarily going to have the same staying power that a unit that naturally relies on more refund might. But it is an interesting thing to see nonetheless, and frankly speaking, steroids from supports always play a factor in that sort of thing anyways, so as they wear off, even a refund unit might struggle in some cases. So, again, this is his upgrade, seems pretty textbook, pretty easy to understand. Let's talk about the actual scenarios for him so that you guys get an idea of what I'm talking about. So for starters, here is Ryouma's new refund numbers. On screen now, you guys should be able to see, quite literally here, he works in pretty much every single possible scenario now. Before, he didn't quite. But he did work in the vast majority of scenarios. Pretty much everything you would want to take him against anyways. So, to explain this to you guys, let's start with the refund numbers over here. If you guys are aware of how refund works in the game, you should already kind of be me here preaching to the choir at this point, and I won't be able to explain much to you. But if you're not aware of how refund numbers in the game work, understand that overkill plays a factor in this. You get actually 50% increased NP generation from an overkill hit. And the way overkill works is that any hit that deals damage, either that results in a kill or after a kill, will deal overkill hit, modifier damage and NP gen. So the idea behind this is that each Noble Phantasm has hit counts on it. Those Noble Phantasms, again, the hit that actually is responsible for the kill will be an overkill hit, even though it won't display the word for that hit, which is interesting. But any hit after it will also be considered overkill. So as a result, we can look at a scenario like this, and we can assume, hey, if we're going up against 3 enemies, he's got a 3-hit MP, so the maximum number of hits would be 9. How many of those hits are overkill? Well, if we kill the wave, that's at least 3 overkill hits. If we don't kill, it's 0. That's going to be your problem right there. So even in a scenario with double casteria against neutral enemies, this includes things like, again, archers and sabers and lancers and stuff like that, because they are neutral for refund purposes. A neutral enemy, 0 overkill hits, he'll still refund 57% with double casteria. That's good. That's solid. That's shoring him up quite a bit. He was at about 50% before now, so he does get a little bit of a bump up there. At 3 hits, he's at about 66% here. 67%. Not quite a nice even number, but hey, maybe with a 4th or a 5th overkill hit, we can get to a nice 70, and that might help things out. At 9 out of 9 overkill hits, this is the maximum possible. It's highly unlikely that this occurs. You are looking at 85% NP gain with double casteria. What does that mean? You're not full refunding with Ryouma, at least not without a 3rd support. At that point, you'd be looking at something like a Shufu, Nero Bride, Paracelsus, or even, a Proto Merlin, something like that to actually facilitate a full loop. But again, like I said, odds are you're not going to get that 9 out of 9 overkill hits. So as we start to look at the other scenarios here, now we're up against a 2 enemy wave where it's just neutral looping at best. A 2 enemy wave, we're only going to get 6 possible hits. We need 4 out of 6 to reach that nice even 50%. That's unlikely to occur. Because same deal, it's like that's just even more firepower you would need in order to achieve the overkill hit. But at even 2 out of 6 overkill hits, meaning you killed the wave, you're at 44%. That's still no slouch. And this is where, again, a lot of his refund is just kind of hard baked in. He's going to naturally get it due to having a lot of arts up. So really, no matter the amount of enemies you're facing, he's still going to generate some Noble Phantasm. And that's working to his advantage here, especially as a unit that has a baked-in 50% charge. Yeah, you can't split that charge up, but you can definitely make a whole lot of use out of it. And then as we look towards the last scenario here, you're going to see this is a 2-enemy Berserker wave. Now, Berserkers are notoriously hard to loop against. They're very nasty in terms of the amount of refund they will give you. Yeah, you can deal effective damage to them, so you maybe get more overkill hits potentially, but you don't get as much Noble Phantasm generated from hitting them precisely. This is where this buff actually does help him. Before now, he would have really struggled to do a 2 enemy Berserker wave. This really shores that up. So at 0 out of 6 overkill hits, he's still at 30%. At 2 out of 6, he's at 35%. And at maximum possible 45% refund with double Castoria. So this is the impact that his slight NP gain upgrade has had, is it's going to allow him to shore up some of these numbers. But frankly speaking, even in his old scenarios, he could do 2 enemy waves, and he could do, again, Black Grail looping in any of these scenarios. What he couldn't do is he couldn't do a 2 enemy Berserker wave before this update. Now he can do 2 enemy Berserker, which at least is just going to help shore him up in the scenarios where he maybe just doesn't have as many enemies, or maybe there's a mixed in Berserker in some of these waves. It's going to help make him a little bit more consistent. So yeah, the NP gain helps, but it's not nearly as big of a deal as most people think, because again, he already was a Black Grail looper and already could handle non-standard nodes. That's something that a lot of people didn't give him credit for, unfortunately, for better or worse. If you did end up in a scenario where maybe just somehow you couldn't manage to get enough refund out of him, we've got a couple of extra suggestions for you guys. Obviously, Black Grail and things like that are going to be the main craft essence suggestion, but if you maybe are going to struggle a little bit more, something like Sign of a Smiling Face can be a really good one, or it's more, I guess, budgetary version, Royal Icing, which is an old welfare CE. If you need something like Invuln Pierce, Winds of Spring can be really, really nice for him, as this gives some additional arts up, Invincibility, Pierce, and NP damage that'll scale with an Oberon. And a much newer CE with the Moon here, the Durga CE, that is actually also all attack scaling, NP damage, NP gain, and arts up. So pretty much just a more modern version of Sign of a Smiling Face. Each one of them can be a potential replacement if you need to squeeze out just a little bit more for some reason. Let's talk about the actual charge scenarios, though, that we are mentioning now with regards to his actual upgrade. So to give you guys an idea, on screen you guys should now be seeing 4 different compositions potentially for how he would work. And the first one that we're going to look at right here is going to be the 2-2X Berserker wave. This is a scenario in which there are only 2 enemies in both the front 2 waves, and they are all Berserkers. How do you loop with them? Well, we're going to loop from 0% charge. We're going to start out with his append. We're going to use double Castoria, and we're going to use Oberon with him in the back line. So with his maxed out mana loading, we're then going to use all of the Castoria skills on him. We're going to use his first and third, obviously, as well. But we're going to save one of the Castoria skills, basically one of the NP gains, for a later turn. That should bring us up to full charge. We'll fire off the NP. He'll refund about 29%, pretty much on the dot. So that nice number that we'd maybe need to round up to 30% there. We're then going to use the remaining Castoria 20% and Ryouma's own 50% charge right there. That's going to bring us up to 99%, which will round up and will be full for us. From there, you can go ahead and rotate one of the Castorias if you want, or save that until wave 3, fire off the NP, and then now in turn 3 here, you'll have refunded about 35%, but you have Oberon. He gives 70% charge, so that's enough. Boom, there you go. You managed to complete a 2-2X Berserker wave. In 3-3X, it gets even easier. It opens up quite a bit more. It's still pretty much the exact same charge scenario, except now you don't actually need the mana loading append. Instead, what we're going to do is turn 1, we're going to use all of one of the Castorias and rotate for the Oberon early, and then use his 20% NP damage skill to bring us up to full, because we actually don't need the NP gain there turn 1, because yes, Sakamoto Ryouma actually is a good refund unit. That's going to refund about 44% right there. Boom, wave 2 now, you go ahead and pop the remaining Castoria 20% charge, Ryouma's own 50%, and then on wave 3, after you've NP'd the second time, you'll have actually refunded 50% now, since the node composition is just better, and then that plus Oberon's 50% should be enough simply to complete the loop. Same sort of deal here.
Scenario number 3 is another 3/3x Berserker node. So again, poor NP gain off of the Berserkers, but now we're doing it with double Castoria and Nero Bride. This time around, we're going to start out with the Append, maxed out, and we're going to use all of one Castoria's skills, rotate immediately, bring the other Nero Bride in, and bring the original Nero Bride in, and go ahead and use all of her skills on Ryouma at that point. Maybe just use the arts up from the second Castoria. Fire off the NP the first time. He's going to refund about 57%, and then from there, you should easily be able to do the other Castoria's skills in order to charge him up to full one more time. Fire off the NP, and then you should get 66% refund for wave 3. Ryouma's own 50% charge skill is all you need, so that's actually a pretty nice, even composition. Should flow relatively well for you. And then in our fourth scenario here, you're going to have a 3/3x Archer wave. This one, we're actually going to get away with still no starting charge other than his Append, but we're going to use a single Castoria, a Nero Bride, and a Shu Fu. And in this scenario, we're actually going to manage to use all of the Castoria skills turn 1, rotate her out, bring in the Shu Fu, but we're going to go ahead and utilize basically all of Nero Bride's and at least all of Shu Fu's other than her charge skill. That should bring us up to full. Fire off the NP the first time. He's going to refund a whopping 73%. He's actually dealing effective damage against the archers, and they are a neutral target compared to Berserkers, plus just a ton of NP gain in this comp. So from there, we're going to use the remaining Shu Fu 30%. That'll bring him up to full. He'll refund another 73% as we head into wave 3 after his NP, and then his own 50% charge will finish it off. So again, Ryouma is already just a solid looper and works in a variety of scenarios, including non-standard waves where you maybe don't have 3 enemies. So he's somebody that really can go the extra distance due to having that 50% charge skill, because he can pick and choose which turn he wants to use it on, including a single enemy wave. It should be possible if the other enemies are, say, a triple set in some of the other waves. So he has quite a bit of capability for being able to make it through a really weird node. Looking at his old damage numbers here now on screen, we can talk about this. And basically, he is somebody that obviously has gotten a nice NP interlude. And the easy way to understand this is just like the point I pointed out before. Since his NP interlude is standard for the amount of damage it adds, there's your new NP1 number right there as NP2. So as we go to look at the new numbers, boom, there you go. It is still the 31, almost 32K there now for NP1. The old NP5 number is now the new NP2 number, and his damage numbers are much improved across the board. Now, as we look at him in an actual composition here, you guys can see wave 3, we get that really nice spike here, basically due to Oberon compared to his old numbers. Quite literally, he's a lot more shored up on waves 1 and 2, but for wave 3, the old number there is 301k. It is now 401k, which, again, same deal. If you look at the old numbers and you look at NP2 there, you can see that direct correlation. So really, really nice jump up in damage, almost 100k difference, and these are still neutral numbers, as opposed to if he's actually up against something like archers and deals effective damage. So definitely a solid upgrade for him. For comparison, though, let's see where he lands in regards to the meta situation. Vitra is our odd girl out at this point, as we obviously know that Vitra needs an upgrade. Even with a standard NP interlude, Vitra's only looking at about 335k by wave 3. And quite literally 360k in her actual niche. So Vitra probably needs a non-standard interlude or some sort of additional impact, maybe a just really strong skill buff. The one thing I will say is Vitra doesn't necessarily have to be doing as much damage as Ryouma. And the reason why is because Ryouma doesn't have a niche. So her having the anti-divine niche, it does not necessarily mean that she has to deal more damage than him, but she should deal more damage than him if that divine niche is coming into play. That's how they should balance it appropriately. She does less damage overall, but more if the anti-divine is being used. So that's something to watch out for in the future. Maybe Vreecher will get another buff coming up here at the anniversary round of strengthenings, hopefully sooner if possible. Another interesting one here is actually going to be Summer Melt, another AoE Arts Lancer. And interestingly enough, Ryouma's buff is so strong at that 401k that even an NP5 Melt will not outdamage an NP1 Ryouma now. So in this regard, we may be looking at a time where we could potentially see an upgrade now to some of the 4-stars. So definitely be an interesting thing to see. But I do think, at least in that regard, Melt still has a lot of advantages. She's really, really strong in the refund department and does have a 60% charge to boot. So quite literally quite a bit of capability for that unit. Though admittedly, her waves 1 and 2 damage are what really probably need the examination the most, as that's where she tends to have some issues due to the one-turn nature of her sort of steroid attached to her charge skill. Percival is another one that we can look at here, and he's very much in a similar situation. This Ryouma buff is strong enough to kind of get him away from the 4-stars in terms of their threat. So if you're somebody that has an MP5 Percival, obviously he's still a really, really solid, good unit, but yeah, Ryouma actually will outpace him now. Fionn is another interesting one, and interestingly enough, you guys should denote that Fionn actually can do the most out of the 3 in terms of his overall output. But this is just, typical Fionn things. Fionn's got a really clunky kit. Some people don't mind it. They're absolutely willing to use it. Other people have their favorites and prefer not to use Fionn. So the choice is yours in that regard if you want to too. But let's not stop there. Just real quick, one more comparison just kind of for the road. Since everyone was going to ask it anyways, here are the Melisson numbers. So Melisson's still clocking in at about 440k raw output. So Ryouma is not stronger than Mel. But Ryouma at 401k is a lot closer than he used to be. Instead of getting handedly beat, they're in the same ballpark now. The advantage, though, is going to be Mel being able to tap into a man niche if Koyanskaya provides it. That's going to be a little bit unfortunate for, obviously him, but at that point in time, you just got to say it is what it is. And this is one of those things where, again, the devs have had some balance problems in the Lancer category. Definitely seems like we're on a redemption arc, though, where they're trying to buff up some of the other Lancers to at least be similar to Mel, because I think the devs have realized it's really tough getting people to roll for units that just, frankly, are behind the curve. So let me know what you guys think about the Ryouma buff and what you would like to see with regards to the next Lancer buff. I think I can probably hazard a guess. I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Thank you all for watching. I will see you guys for the next one later. Okay, chat. My way. Nicely done as always. Thank you. I appreciate it. Single target Archer's redemption arc win? Bro, I wish. I really do wish. But yeah, so I know that one was a longer video. I did need to kind of talk about that because it's like Avalon was saying, people don't understand how fucking refund works. And it's like, I'm okay with that. I am happy to educate everybody. But what gets really stupid is you see people go out on a limb, on a tangent, and they'll be like, Ryouma's a bad refunder. And it's like, no, he's not. Yes, he is. And then you get in an argument with them. They're insisting that he's not good, but they don't actually know. And that's exactly the scenario that I was talking about before. It's like, I'm okay debating someone if they're amenable to the truth. And it's like, you provide them the actual numbers and they're like, oh, okay, I thought he was doing less because I was just eyeballing or something. That's fine. I'm not going to hold that against anyone. But I've seen people, in Ryouma's case, I've seen people in Ruler Moriarty's case as well. Both these two units shared a very similar path and reception by the actual community, where it didn't matter if you showed people the numbers. People refuse to believe. And it was one of those deals where you're like, oh my God, I just, whatever. Okay, I give up. I also hear people say EO had bad refund. Yeah. Yeah. People be weird, right? And thank you, Cal. Appreciate it. The older I get, the more I realize people would rather be right than listen to the truth. I agree. I do agree with that. Whereas, like, I'm not going to say that I don't have, like, my guns and I like to stick to them. I think everyone does to a degree. But usually, chat, if you show me the data, I'll be like, shit. I'll be like, damn, I fucked up. I'm sorry. And it is what it is. I don't know. Maybe that's just me getting older, but I feel like to a degree I've always been this way. It's a mentality. I could see Ronmaru get an upgrade with evocation. Ronmaru I feel like could be a decent one. Not that Ronmaru's bad, but Ronmaru does struggle in some situations. Poor Ryouma and Oryu. Yeah, and it's like, to a degree, I feel bad for him because I like the unit. I actually think they're really cool. I like their designs. I like the references in them. Like, it's awesome. Ryouma deserved better treatment by at least the English-speaking side of the community. To my understanding, the JP side of the community loves it for a couple of reasons. One, the obvious like Oreo buff, and two, the again references that are present here, and three, that right there. So quite literally, there's a lot of people that like Ryouma on the JP side, but I don't know. I guess it's not the same thing for NA. I like him just fine. I just like others. Yeah, and I think this is, like, to a degree, Ryouma had a massive debuff that nobody else had. Or was it chat? Was it here? Here, it was here. Okay. You had summer. And you had Halloween. And then, oh, look at that. So from here to here, you had a brand new summer event. You had a brand new Halloween event. Everybody's sitting there flexing their new Melisson. And then they tried to come out with another Lancer. And it didn't go well. Yeah. Ryouma is a textbook case for why I've talked about the issue with a super meta unit, right? It's when you do a unit like Melisson, you could have made Melisson, frankly speaking, chat, like looking at these numbers here, you could have made Melisson deal like 380k, and it still would have put her at the top of the list at the time. So, like, the fact that she's this strong, you start to go like, what were they actually thinking, right? And so you wonder, like, did they actually realize the scalability issue that they had with Mel? I don't know. But I look at that and I just go like, yeah, that was really short-sighted of them. They cashed in. They got a ton of people to roll Mel. They made a ton of money off Mel. But then they immediately felt it on the back end. Immediately. Right here. Oh, you want to do a new Lancer? And no one rolled. And it's like, yep. And chat, you guys got to realize that was 5 years ago. So they have been feeling that, not just every new Lancer, they have been feeling that with every single Lancer banner since. So not just new units. Like, that's the issue when they make a unit that strong. And it's, chat, imagine they want to do an Okitan banner. Imagine they want to do a Kiara banner. Who's going to roll after Tiamat? Imagine they want to do an AoE foreigner banner like Voyager or something like that. Will I have Cuckoo? This is just a problem. This is the issue when you make a unit this strong. I mean, Zerktoria is going to be the same deal. It's like, how do you sell a single target Berserker after Zerktoria? I don't know. I don't envy them. Yeah, it's like they easily could have come out with the quote-unquote strongest unit of the class, right? And the way to do it was that they should have been like, all right, if this is the class's damage, how strong should the strongest unit be? Well, the strongest unit should be like this much stronger. Where it's like, oh, it's like a 5% addition. The strongest unit should not be like all the way out here. Okay? Better Summer Nero? What? I find it hard to use my boy Voyager after getting Cuckoo. Voyager's at least still got some party utility, but yeah, it's like that's just the problem they run into. I'm trying to interpret what you just wrote, Wood. Something tells me your finger was off. Yeah. Make the male and maybe even King Arthur. Yeah. I don't know. It's just this is an issue with the game. I know they're not going to ever have perfect balance. I don't want anyone to think like, oh, Cad's off his rocker, he's coping, that like they're going to completely balance the game. I know they're not. I know they won't. But they do have to, one, on the front end, stop making the unit way too strong, and two, on the back end, they really need to start picking up that back end faster. Like, chat, these Vitra numbers, these kind of bad. Just saying, these kind of bad. So for reference, chat, Vitra in niche versus raw Ryouma. Or raw Mel. Mel is almost twice as strong as Vitra in her niche. That's like... That's kind of bad. Just saying. Now part of that's just Vitra's situation, right? I do think Vitra still has a really good kit. I think if you look at Vitra and you expect Vitra to outdamage Mel, that will not happen. And I would never expect that. But she should absolutely be way more competitive, right? She pretty much needs NP3 plus niche to match Ryouma's NP1 damage now, or NP4 no niche. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like, even if you gave her the NP interlude, it still doesn't win. You're 80k behind Mel. You are 50k, well 40k really, behind Ryouma. So it's like, and let's be honest, chat, probably the sweet spot. So like, if you have Ryouma at 401k, if you have Mel like 440k, the sweet spot for like her damage niche is probably somewhere in this range, right? So it's like, I'd say like minimum 420k. But let's be honest, it probably needs to be stronger than Mel if possible. I don't really see that being the case. So I think it really will be like somewhere in the like 420 to 440k range. Will probably be what they do with her. My issue is at only 420k, that's not significantly strong enough for me to be like, oh yeah, now I'm going to use her. Like, as opposed to, like, using Ryouma or using a Mel. Mother scales better too with NP levels due to extra Oberon synergy. Yeah, I mean, I'm only talking about NP2 numbers here because this is the same amount that you would have if you did an NP interlude, like a standard interlude, right? So what I'm trying to depict here is that they need a non-standard interlude for Vitra. That's their issue. Like, it really needs to do more than just, hey, we gave the NP more damage. If they're going to add more damage at that point, then how they do it is like, let's go look at Vitra real fast. If you're going to look at Vitra, right? How you do this, and you can see, it's like, okay, so they have 3 turns of arts up here. It's 30%. They have Anti-Divine, 30% power mod. That is not a strong power mod, by the way. That does need to be stronger. It is party-wide, though, to their fairness. And she also has NP damage up of 20% here. One time, though, 5 turns. That is really fucking bad. Just saying. Because what it does is it kind of like screws Vitra. So where is she? Where that's actually appearing, chat, is right here. This is accounted for in wave 3? Oh, okay. So you actually did not pop it until turn 3. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, it's kind of a Musashi Berserker situation. You make Musashi Berserker's looping more like consistent if you pop her steroid turn 1, but obviously her wave 3 numbers are worse. Same thing here with Vitra. So to me, if you go look at her, deals damage to all enemies. She seals their skills for 1 turn. She reduces their critical attack chance by 20% for 3 turns. Here's how I would do it, chat. Obviously, you do the standard interlude. Then, I would add... I got it. Alright. Standard NP interlude. This goes before... This gets up to a whopping 30%. And then, well, maybe we don't do that. Maybe we only up this to 20%. And then what we do is we add super effective divine. There you go. So, what does that do? That basically gets her not only the standard NP interlude, gets her 20% more damage, because this is now activating before rather than after the NP. And slightly better refund, and actual super effective damage on top of her power mod. So against a divine, an actual divine archer, she'd be really good. Against a non-divine archer, she would be okay, not better than Ryouma. So that would give her a actual scenario where you really want to take her, she's really good, and hey, the rest of the time she's passable. That's how I would balance her. That's how I would do it. So we'll see. Maybe they'll do that, but I don't know. I think the 1 turn NP damage up being stuck with a slow charge effect. So this would be really good, too, if you do it the way I just said, because by putting this before and making it 20%, you now get ever so slightly more refund, which will help offset not doing the 10% NP charge until wave 3. Like I said, chat, it's not hard for me to figure out how to buff these units. All I need to do is I need to look at, here's the current layout of the other units. Think about what is the major motif of this unit? What do they want it to do? And adjust. They don't want Vritra to be the top damage, but she certainly needs a niche. And if you give her that super effective niche, then she is the top for that. And still has a power mod for the party. So she still has utility. That's really good. That really helps her out a ton. Is like the Tametomo effect, but worse. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think Tametomo's in a worse situation, but that's because he's Buster. So, like, he's just really weirdly screwed out of being a 50% charger. Will she blow Karna out of the water, though? That's a good question. I'd have to see the Karna numbers. Would that be fair to Karna? I don't know. But here's the thing. If she blows Karna out of the water, one, who cares? Vritra has been at the back of the pack. Giving her some time to shine is absolutely acceptable. And two, oh no, maybe we buff Karna again in the future. Like, I don't think it's that crazy, right? Is she viable for boss or for challenge quest? Yeah, she's still absolutely viable for that sort of thing. Like, the biggest issue that you see with these sort of things, especially when we look at 3-turn numbers, is like, okay, but obviously some units scale really hard down a 3-turn stretch. Vritra's not one of those. She does not scale better due to the way her overcharge works. So it's like, still she's okay. She's fine. But I think at the end of the day, it really depends on how much health you're dealing with. If you're using an arts unit, though, to me, you're not necessarily in the market to one-shot something so much as you're in the market to consistently keep doing it. And Vritra will do that. That is something that's good for her. One of the best picks for Tunguska raids? Yeah, exactly. Arjuna, the lesser-loved hero? What are you talking about? Arjuna Alter's great. What do you mean? What do you mean Arjuna's the lesser-loved? It's funny because then everyone goes, yeah, but they forgot actual Arjuna. It's like, well, yeah. If making her even more with the pack, or more even with the pack, makes her way better than Karna, that might be a good sign he needs a buff too. Right. Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. Now, chat, I'm not sure y'all are ready for this take that Karna should just flat out deal more damage than Mel. Yes, he has a niche, but what he doesn't have is a kit. Like, he does have crit damage. That's really his big claim to fame. But he does not have the charge, right? He is not going to be as usable or as able to be amplified damage output-wise. So, if they don't want to make him out-damage Mel, that's fine. But what they need to do is they need to find a nice balance for him where with like a 50% CE, he is slightly under Mel's Black Grail damage and over it with his niche. In a similar way to how we were just talking about with Vritra. $30% MP damage for 3 turns? No, I think we're good. He already has MP damage up in his kit. For a server that has so much work to do with mellow damage is overtuned, I think. Yep. I love that we've now had 2 like really close succession SSR Lancer buffs because I feel like y'all are finally getting what I'm saying. I think people thought for a long time Cad's just a Mel hater. And I'm like, listen, I am saying this purely because it is the truth. They really did overtune that character. Maybe I'm a little bit harder on her than I should be in that regard. She is definitely a poster child that I mention a lot, right? And in that regard, we can absolutely examine some of those other really strong units that I talk about. Like, if you guys want me to, I can absolutely go in depth on something like Tiamat and go in depth on something like Cuckoo. Like, that sort of thing is absolutely fair game to me. And I think that is a-okay. Because I want y'all to realize it's not me just sitting here trying to like shit on any one unit. Mel is probably the one I'm singularly the most like familiar with, though. And that's where my bias comes in. Why am I more familiar with Mel than the other units? Because of Lartoria. So it's like, I naturally have been aware of that problem since day one. That being said, though, I think even with, like, say, for instance, Tiamat, I took one look at Tiamat's damage and I went like, ah, shit. I immediately knew Tiamat was way too much. Cuckoo is kind of a deceptive one. Cuckoo is a little bit better hidden, but still really, really strong. The issue, I think, with both Cuckoo and Tiamat is that while you had other units in their class, in their card type, even in their cases, I feel like the alternatives were not necessarily designed to be like big damage dealers. Whereas with both of them, they were. And so I think in that regard, some people gave them a pass. But the issue that people are now realizing is not just that they were really good big damage dealers, it's that their kits are in and of themselves too strong. BB Dubai and Seal super strong too. I think BB Dubai is not that bad, at least from the standpoint of there is some competition for her. Seal? There is no competition for Seal. Literally, it's OG BB, and let's be real, chat. That's not competition. OG BB is still really good, but it's not going to be capable of doing the things that Seal can do. Have they released units as crazy as like the LB6 units since LB6? Where all the units were crazy good? Were all the units crazy good in LB6? I think every unit in LB6 is good. Not every unit in LB6 is overpowered. Now, chat. You want to know what, like, low-key, one of the most strong units out of LB6 is? Are we ready to have this conversation? I'm waiting on someone to mention it. Yeah, it's Habitrot. Habitrot absolutely power crept the 5 stars. Habitrot just kind of nasty. I like how Seal introduced consistent face card into farming. You know, what's interesting is you can't seal everything in the game, but dear Lord, you can try. And the thing is, you will win. You just won't 3-turn everything. I would argue Oberon. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say Oberon. You know, we've had that discussion numerous times, and it's like Oberon is just legitimately like power creep personified. Melisson would be absolutely on the cusp, but would not be nearly as broken as she is without Oberon. That interaction between Oberon and Black Grail is just disgusting. Though that being said, even prior to Oberon, Black Grail already was a very strong craft essence. It was the strongest in the game. So the fact that Oberon uniquely interacted with the strongest craft essence already in the game and doubled its effectiveness is like, what were you thinking, devs? You start to think about stuff like that and you're just like, were you sane? Were like maybe a little bit too much of the mushrooms there, Nasu? Because like, goddamn. I'd argue most of the LB6 characters are pretty great in total. Yeah, it's just like they're all good. None of them or sorry, they're all good, but not all of them are like insanely OP. The strongest LB6 unit was the friends we made along the way. Yeah, Mike. Ahado, thank you for the 36. Chat, can we get some love for quite literally 3 years? Oh, sorry, it's 37, actually. 36 in a row. Still appreciate it, though. They pretty too hard the night before and said, fuck it, we ball. I think it's just Nasu favoritism. I think Nasu really loved LB6 and he wanted to make all of the units from it strong. I really think that's all it boils down to. We haven't had a unit force the game to redesign their encounter since Merlin. Oberon's that ridiculous, yeah. And honestly, in a weird way, that may be a good thing, at least to the extent that Oberon mixed things up for them. But now so if we want to talk about like meta scenarios and issues and like a like, oh man, like Cuckoo's too strong or Tiamat's too strong or something like that, like, yeah, we can have that conversation, but who's enabling it is Oberon. So it's like a little bit if they want to level some of the playing fields, if they want to see like, okay, now we've got like arts units that are too strong. Now we've got quick units that are too strong. If they really want to level that playing field, it's probably going to take a counter to Oberon, something, so to speak. And I don't mean like, hey, them designing the game against Oberon. I mean them literally coming out with a different support that functions powerfully, but not necessarily synergistically with Oberon. Oberon the Enabler is really in character for him. Yeah. Abino Seimei? Yeah, I mean, so Abino Seimei is often referred to as like Japanese Merlin. So it's like, if he actually does come into the game, I have really, really strong and high hopes for it. Who is it? There was a unit that came out here recently. Wait, hold on. It's like my brain is just dying here. Oh, can I get the entire servant list by ID? Yeah. Is Komachi. So Komachi has a male that appears in the background of her sprites. And that is why she is listed as a group servant. I'm not going to like spoil that, chat, but there was a very brief moment right after she came out where people were like, holy shit, is that Abe no Seimei? I had to actually go talk to Trubs about it. And no, it's not. But like there was that moment and everyone was like, oh my god, if that's how they actually do it, that is terrible. Like, everyone was like, please don't do it that way. Holy crap. Because be like, yeah, I guess if you include him in a waifu that would sell better, but like I don't think anyone wanted it done in that particular method. Updraw good for low-level enemies, yeah. Just finished the final Dust AQ. Pope S for the win. Nice. I've been gonna say, it feels like an Annie or New Year servant. Yeah, if he's not an Annie or New Year servant, he is a story chapter headliner. Right? Like, has to be. If he's not one of those. Like, in a weird way, chat, I could even see something like this, where we get to the end of part 2, and our Temple of Time, instead of having Merlin come bail us out, it's Abbe. Honest Abbe. I could see something like that happening. Be a Tamamo pretender servant? You could. Abe no Seimei and Tamamo have a relationship, but that's probably where, like, if nothing else, Abe no Seimei finally appears, is if we get some sort of, like, primordial Tamamo related story. You'll get Abe, Shinzo Abe, that is. I'm down. And then, like, so what we can do, chat, is we can throw the 3 Abes into one servant. We can have Abe no Seimei. We can have Shinzo Abe. And we can have Abe no Lincoln. Too powerful, yes. I hate that it took me a minute to get that. Oh, good. Glad to know chat's still awake. They've been teasing him for so long. A little bit, though, like, I worry about it, because, like, let's say Abe no Seimei comes in. Who's the big servant that we're all, like, waiting on then at that point? I'm not going to say that there isn't someone they could do, just that, like, to my knowledge, they haven't really set someone up like him yet. Zelrich? Yeah, I mean, like, God, if we get Zelrich, the game is actually over. Because, like, once we have Zelrich, how do you do anything in FGO after that? Like, you literally have Kaleidoscope, man. Bro just sees all timelines. Wukong? Yeah, you could do something like some Wukong. Though I'm not sure, at least within the Japanese fandom, that it would inspire as much. To be fair, they haven't set up Abe no Seimei either. It's just the community. No, it's not. But we're not ready for that conversation yet. Isn't getting Solomon a bigger deal? Maybe. Maybe. What if we just get Summonable Goetia? Summonable Beast 1. Gender bent tomboy Wukong. I wait. So your mother Goku. Okay. A new Musashi? Don't get me wrong. While people would be hype about Musashi, if it's male Musashi, it would not have nearly the same impact as, like, our Musashi. But could they absolutely do like a new Musashi variant? Yes. Should they? Frankly speaking, yes, as somebody that played Samurai Remnant. I feel like Musashi's gotten done dirty now. Wukong would totally gender bend himself just for the lulz. That I could see. And then chat, after we get gender bent Son Wukong, we can get the game banned in China. Cutting through data lost, yeah. Well, see, I would like to see a like Musashi Zero. I think more Australian or African mythology servants would be fun. I agree. However, seeing the community reaction to Wangina was like, I don't know. People had issue with Wangina. Musashi Zero is in before FGO's BS? No, Musashi Zero is in after FGO's BS. That's actually a good point, Chupacabra. Please don't say the community that was lonely weirdos. That's true. It's not the entire community. Did she even get a rerun since her release? Who? I want Saber Kojiro. Saber Kojiro could be kind of amazing. See, the issue at play, though, chat, like, what do? You do Saber Kojiro, you do male Musashi. Congratulations, you've recreated Shimosa. So it's like, they can do it, but you will have people that'll be like, this is a retread. I'd be fine with it, but I don't know that, like, it would play as well with the rest of the community. An event centered around the Great Emu War? You want an event centered around a slaughter? Of Australians? I mean, I guess. They did do a Samurai Remnant collab, best saber welfare ever. Yeah, which is kind of funny. Like, but that's also, quote unquote, that welfare is one of the reasons that Musashi got done dirty. Like, I kind of want to see a sane version of Herc. I do think you'll eventually see some collab or something with Strange Fake. That'll be interesting. Because proper human history had the emus win. So you're saying it would be on the emu's side because it's a lost belt type deal. I mean, maybe. Archimedes would be another big one. Archimedes has been somebody that a lot of people have been theorizing for a while. So you're right. That is another big one. But I don't know how much they'll do with that. I want a slug. I see. Yeah, why have we had 2 Britney songs today? Since we got the author of Dante's Inferno, what are the odds that we get Dante from the Devil May Cry series? That'd be a really cool idea. Homer would be interesting. God, there would be some really weird interactions with Homer in the game. Because, like, literally everybody involved in the Iliad and the Odyssey would have shit to do with them. Why not make a 3-star saber face for once? People might roll just for that. What do you mean people might roll? Hold on, I'm insulted by that statement. What do you mean? Like, I think there's a lot of stuff they could do. I don't think the game's like running out of stuff. I think this anniversary is gonna be sadly like so hold on. I know what I just said. I think it's gonna be a big anniversary, okay? But I think it's sadly going to just kick the can down the road with regards to, I unfortunately don't think they're going to tell you anything about part 3. Like, I think we all hope that they will, but I think they're just going to do their typical BS of like, you have to wait and see. And then we're going to get to the end, probably in December, and then they will actually give it to us. And then I have no idea. It's like, Chad, it's almost like the event horizon. Like, we have no idea what lies beyond that because the devs have been so tight-lipped. Like, quite literally, the only mention beyond the end of quote-unquote part 2 is Takeuchi in one of the one-off interviews that he gave said, yeah, I mean, like, we got plans for year 11. Like, we'll celebrate 11th anniversary. So it's like, that's it. That's all we've heard. This is a weird version of Livin' La Vida Loca. But I'm all for it. It's because they don't know. No, I think they know. They're just not saying, right? Any interview is going to be so interesting. It could be, but like I said, I expect we're all going to go into that Annie interview wanting to know more about the future of the game, and they're going to just pull their usual bullshit. And we're all going to be like, Fujimaru versus Clock Tower. MC got too strong. I mean, it won't be versus Clock Tower. It'll be Fujimaru versus Seal Designation Enforcers. They're just gonna sick them on him. Imagine if Nasu dooms again. Nasu will doom again. Nasu is going to Nasu. Y'all need to be prepared for, at 10th Annie, Nasu will talk profusely about the end of the game. But he's going to make it sound like it's the end of the game, but if you read between the lines, you realize he's really just talking about the end of that story arc. Nasu speaks only in Doomish. It'd be funny if all of a sudden they drop that they have another 10-year plan. I'd be absolutely down. Absolutely. Like, obviously from the standpoint of, I would like to see this game go places. I would like to see this game do things. But, like, in 10 years, I don't know where I'll be, right? Like, But I still think at least that would be like Chad energy and project a lot of confidence from them. And that would be good. Hello, Mr. Fox. Welcome, everybody. How's it going? What are you guys up to today? Hired this Bargu to stare at me? Oh, no. So I don't know why we have Komachi on the screen, but we were going over the Ryouma buff and talking shop about a lot of things. How's it doing, everybody? If you guys are new here, hello, my name's Kadroth. I stream FGO all the time. But also for all of my viewers, if you guys haven't ever followed Mr. Fox, go do so. He's a good buddy. Doing GFL2 until surprise maintenance. Oh, shit. You're talking about Abi no Seimei? Yeah, we were talking about the inevitable, how do I put it? Like the inevitable combination of the Abes. So you have Abe no Seimei, you have Shinzo Abe, and you have Abe no Lincoln. And the combination of those three absolutely powerful Onmyoji into one unit would be like the game's new 6-star. Abe no Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Exactly. Perfect music for this, indeed. Yeah, I hope you guys had a fun time. We were just talking about like how I think at like 10th Annie, like we're gonna get the 10th Annie interview. It's gonna be a thing again, and then inevitably, what will be the case is Nasu's gonna doom. They're not gonna tell us anything about the future. There will be a part 3, but they're just literally gonna stay tight-lipped about it. Because at this point, they've been tight-lipped for years. And I don't see them changing their tactic. I'm gonna say it would be sick. Yeah, I think a lot of people are hyped for it. Make him a Santa. Dude, Abraham Lincoln as a Santa would be wild. We need a bingo for the interview. We probably do. We probably do. The bingo would be like Nasu mentions the end of FGO. Takeuchi has some sort of like lewd thing that he did. Nasu gets extremely bogged down in talking about a minute story detail that nobody picked up on. Like there's definitely a lot of these that I could do. Nasu reflects on the past 10 years would have to be part of the bingo. Nasu talks about the upcoming Honkai Star Rail collab. What about a passion lip swimsuit? Probably not. Like not saying that won't be a thing, saying I don't see Nasu talking about it again this year because it might actually happen this year. So he'll probably avoid it. You have to start thinking like meta with Nasu. Oh, there'd be a free space, chat. The free space would be this. It would be absolutely that. It would be Nasu debating us with something that we absolutely know is untrue. Because he'd be telling you a partial truth. And he's done this numerous times. He's even been called out by Takeuchi. That is a free space. That is your middle square on the anniversary bingo. Is Nasu lies. They call him Oberon, actually, yes. When Draco dropped that this is an arcade line in an event, I was laughing so hard. Yep. I'm just trying to think is like what else would be the case. Nasu would mention that Takeuchi handles all of the business. Takeuchi gets bogged down talking about the design choice for one particular unit. Kamazatz gets mentioned. Nasu mentions not wanting to do space ever again. Another sprite in NPC jail. Yeah, Nasu tells you that you're not going to get another character. Nasu mentions wanting to work on other projects. And this sounds weird because it's an anti, but no mention of Strange Fake. Wanting to play the new FromSoft game. Yeah. Well, so there won't be a new FromSoft game at that time unless Duskbloods is a thing. I would be interested to hear, though, if it's like Nasu mentions the Switch too. No extra record info, no. No Tsukihime part 2 mention. No prototype news. That one's fairly low-hanging fruit. UFO Table Witch on the Holy Night movie. No. I feel like when all of these projects finally get delivered, we're all going to be like, oh my God. Like, we're all just going to be living the good life. But Nasu seemingly has a hard time micromanaging all of it. Will he tell us that Summer Erish and Draco will be the only two beasts? No, but what you can probably count on is him trying to debate you that, like, it's gonna be a while before you get a new beast. By mentioning foe is a beast, maybe. And by a while, yeah, he means like literally at summer. Yeah, it's like 3 weeks from now. Are we making a bingo card for the post Annie Nasu interview? Yeah. Well, remember the the interview that Famitsu puts out at every anniversary is actually done prior to the anniversary. So it's like, that's why, for instance, in the last year's anniversary, there was no mention. Okay. Fifth Append gets mentioned. That one's more likely to be in the Mr. 2 interview, though. But yeah, no, God, Fifth Append absolutely is getting mentioned this time around. You know Mr. 2 is going to have to, like, even in that interview, he's going to have to apologize. He's going to be like, yeah, we fucked up. And that's going to make the Mr. 2 interview really interesting this year. Because it'll be curious to hear more info on that and maybe why some of that transpired the way that it did. Because I think Mr. 2 is going to come out and say it. I think he's going to be like, yeah, we already had some of these fixes. We already knew that we wanted to do some of these things. Nasu trolling about a super wanted summer unit. Yeah, that's probably going to happen. Because we've seen Medusa get trolled, we've seen Passion Lip get trolled, and that's literally just in the past, like, year or two here. So it's like, I wouldn't restrict it to just Passion Lip, but it'll probably be like, oh, people want Walter? Tony corporate overlords will exert their authority on that interview. In a weird way, I don't think they necessarily do. I think most of that is just like Nasu himself doesn't like to talk about the future, because I think Nasu at his core is a storyteller, and he is trying to build hype for the end of the story of this arc. So that's why he's purposefully not telling you about an arc that goes on beyond it, because he's trying to build the suspense. He's trying to make you think the game is really going to end, so that when it doesn't, not only are you relieved and pleasantly surprised, but that you're on the edge of your seat the whole time, thinking that it's going to end. Like, oh my God, the main character's going to die. Like, that's what I think he's trying to do. Oh, I got you, chat. He will explain the logic behind the grand system and will tease future upgrades to it. I could easily see that. Matahari's summer win? They definitely could. We've had Charlotte at this point, so. New Game Plus. That would be... Bro. That would be whack if, like, we get to the end of part 2 and we quote-unquote win but don't win, and we time loop back, and the next scene is literally us waking up in the hallway with MASH. And now it's like, oh shit, think about everything we know. And it's like, now we have to do everything different. Please, no, I know. Honestly, I don't want that. Just because it would be a retread and it would be boring to some degree. There would be some really new stuff, but it would also be bad because you'd be like, "Mm." You think they'll give us Grand Shielder Mash on top of our other Grand slots? It's possible, yeah. They haven't said anything about the extra classes, which, by the way, chat, so... Where did they tease it? They talk about it in one of the updates here. I don't think they did. Let me see if I can go find it. Oh, that's Kawachi, some way too far back. I'm looking for the grand system image that they put out. Oh, thank you for having that, Avalon. Wait, what? Bro. Why is that just downloading a WebP? I freaking hate WebPs. Okay. Good lord. Anyway. So, chat, this is the biggest probable confirmation we have of part 3. Right here. Why? Because we know we're getting the... How should I put it? We know we're getting the grand classes in order for the 7 base classes. We know this is May, right? So, like, as you look at this, that's May, June, July, August, September, October, November. What happens in December? Probably the end of part 2. So when does this happen? Even if you assume like, oh, well, then in December you get one of the extras. Cool, that's still not enough for the other extra. So this kind of confirms a part 3. I hope that any servant can clear the grand trials. I'm kind of worried about how they plan to balance it. Like, I'm not as doom as some people have been. I've seen some people that are really negative on this system, but I am at least somewhat worried about this, if that makes any sense. I'm more worried about like how they intend to actually implement it, but we'll see. Chat, it is 11. Hope you guys enjoyed stream today. We got quite a bit of yapping done, and let's see who is on. Mr. Fox rated me, so I can't raid him. Damn it. Mr. CZ's on. Go send CZ some love. I don't get to raid him in the middle of the week too often. Again, I will be back probably tomorrow, but y'all know, again, it's hell week for me, so no guarantees. Don't forget, Lotto Guide, out now. Go watch. Please do me that favor. Share it with all your friends. Spread the love. Go help them out. Nice spreadsheet in there for you guys. Has all the comps you want. And the video talks about everything you need to know about the event. So we'll see you guys for the next one. Go give Mr. CZ my love. And good night.